What is up, ladies and gentlemen? I am so excited you are here. We're gonna learn together. This is the Tarver Academy Summer Professional Development. We're gonna learn. Learning's happening. It's going down today. We're about to get started. My name is Tyler. I run Tarver Academy. It's an online resource for teachers and students and educators, and it's a great community where people just get involved and learn and get better. And I throw resources to you guys, throw ideas around. It's just a lot of fun. Just a whole lot of fun, Tarver Academy. So if you need anything, I'm here. TarverAcademy.com has a ton of resources and things that you can go to check out. A little bit about me, just so you know, you don't think I'm just like, hey, here's a random YouTuber talking about, videos or whatever. My name's Tyler. I started out teaching high school math, and then I moved into a tech director / facilitator role. Then I was a principal of a school 6th through 12th grade. 6th through 12th grade. Fun ages. That's good stuff, okay? Good stuff. Never any drama, 6th through 12th grade. No drama. And our school had waivers from the state, so we did a lot of online, we did a lot of blended, we did a lot of in-person learning, all the above. So we get to learn a lot, make some mistakes, do some stuff right, and try to learn from everything we did. Then after that, I went to central office, and I was director of curriculum instruction, and now I'm the dean of NLC College. And I'm so excited to be here, learning and growing with you guys. I'm also giving a little bit of time for people to jump in, get started, and we're about to go through some of the housekeeping stuff. We're gonna do a little check-in right now at the beginning, and then at the end of this video, at the end of this training, we're going to have a chance for you to get a certificate showing that you actually showed up and you did the learning, okay? I think that this training and the other trainings that you are gonna get the chance to be a part of this summer are gonna help you grow as an educator. And if you grow as an educator, all it does is help the students and the community that you live in. And so let's try our best to learn something, take something away from this that we can put in our repertoire and get better with. Okay, so the first thing I need you guys to do is I need us to check in, okay? And this check-in, what it does is it timestamps when you are here so that you might not need this later, but if your administrator or whoever comes back and they're like, how do I know you didn't just click to the end? This shows that you were here at the beginning. So you can scan the QR code that is on the screen if you have your cell phone. And on my phone with me, get your phone out. I'll use my wallet, Atlanta Braves wallet. Film that, you just hold your phone over that QR code that you see on the screen. You'll see something pop up at the top. Click that and it'll take you to where you can fill out that you were here. It's very short, very quick. I'm gonna give you a little bit of time to do that right now. Go ahead, scan the QR code, go to the website, check in, and when you do that, you will get an email. If you do not get an email immediately, this happened, I told you, I was a tech director for a long time, okay? I'd say a long time. I was a tech director long enough to know that if you don't get that email that you're filling out right now, it's because you typed your email address in wrong. That's exactly what happens. 19 times out of 19 and a half times, that's what happens. So go ahead and go to that. Remember, at the end of this session, there's gonna be another QR code that you're gonna scan that is going to give you the certification saying that you actually did the training. Both of these are time-stamped. So if your administrator or whoever's in charge of PD for your district wants to see that and be like, how do I know you did this? You've got your check-in email that is time-stamped by me, not by you. It's into a PDF or it's into that email. And then you will also have the timestamp on your certificate showing that you did this. Okay, so hopefully everybody is getting that done. Okay, giving you a little bit of time. If you have any trouble, just keep trying because I think it's pretty important to get that logged in. Now, while we're doing that, if you're finishing that up, or if you can hear me, what I would love for you to do is I would love for you to hit the red subscribe button. This is my YouTube channel, Tarver Academy. That's what I call it. It's kind of where I got this started. I had this before I had the website, and then I put up the website to put all the resources and all the stuff I was doing. But if you would hit the red subscribe button right now, that would be huge. That would be just super cool of you. And that way, you can hopefully see some of the other trainings that I'm doing, see some videos I do throughout the year to help teachers, to help students, to have fun and learn together. So hit that red subscribe button. Did you do it? Did you? You get the like too, the little thumbs up. That's just YouTube etiquette. You hit the thumbs up. It's just really nice to do. So you want to hit the thumbs up button, you can. And I would love to start this. How about this? in the chat, okay? Because if you're watching this on my website, which is where you can watch it, that's fine. You're not gonna see the chat, but if you click and watch this on YouTube, you're gonna see a chat rolling on the side of the screen. Start it off. I want you guys in the chat to say who you are, like give your name, tell us what you teach and where you teach, okay? If you're an administrator, you can say that I'm a principal, or you can say your central office, whatever you do. I've got some people that have signed up for this that are aspiring educators. So this is great to say, I wanna be an educator, I wanna be an English teacher for high school, throw that in there. If you wanna be a kindergarten teacher, toss that in there, say you're in school. It's a great way to network because I think there is an amazing community of educators here wanting to learn and grow together. And I think that it's great if we look out for each other. So throw in the chat, I want you to say your name, what you teach, and where you teach. Throw that in the chat. All right, man, we're doing good. We're doing good. It's our warm up. We're feeling good. We're stretching it out. It's always good to stretch before you stretch. I don't know, I heard some friends say that, so I say it from time to time. Okay, next thing. This is another little thing. I've got one right here. So I've written a couple books. I've done Superheroes Need Sleep Too. This is a children's book. It's like a nap time book, so you don't have to read that. But this one I think is super relevant for you. This is the Baller Teacher Playbook, and in it I have like practical advice. It's 18 chapters. So the idea is that you could do this like once a week with your team for a full semester or every other week for a year and try to improve your teaching every week. I'm not doing this to sell it to you. I'm doing this to say I'm giving some of these away all summer to people that are participating in this. So if you want a chance to win one of these, or I think I probably got some other educator books. If you're like, I don't really want your book, Tyler, I got a ton of educator books. I'll send them to you. All you got to do, follow me on Instagram at Tyler Tarver. Follow me at Tyler Tarver on Instagram, and I'm gonna be giving these out throughout the summer. You might be the person I give it to. So follow me on Instagram, and then throw something in your Instagram story if you want, just to increase your chances of me seeing it. So I'm just gonna be clicking through. I see people follow on Instagram. I'm gonna throw out stuff to them. So random people get it. You might not, but you won't if you don't. So there we go. Y'all feeling good? Does everybody feel good? Everybody throw in the chat who they are, where they teach, what they teach. Okay, so to explain also what this is, you are watching, this is a live broadcast. So this is going as a YouTube premiere or a full-on live video. So one of the two. Either way, that chat is happening live. Everybody that jumps into this video at any point is gonna be watching it at the same time as you. So it's great to get in the chat and talk, discuss, ask questions, give input. If we ask a question in the video, you can type it in your notes, but you can also type it in the chat. You can copy paste from the chat. It's a great way for you to be a part of this live broadcast, okay? So if you have a Google Notes, if you have a notes document, if you wanna take notes by hand, I've got a template for notes if you want. It sent it to you whenever you filled out your email. It should have been on that page whenever you did your check-in at the beginning. If not, it's on like every PD page. I have my website, tarveracademy.com. Click on PD and you get a free notes template, or you can take notes in your own doc. However you want to do it, take notes, write down stuff that's relevant to you, and copy paste stuff that people put in the chat. There's gonna be people in the chat that are way smarter than me. And so I'd love for you to copy paste that into the notes, and you can take that and make your teaching game elevate. So next thing, while we're getting logged in, people are still jumping in here. They're still jumping in the video, giving you a few minutes to do that. We're also, if you want to watch these videos, because after this ends, it's going to be gone off of here. However, I'm going to be putting all of these trainings, all like 30 something trainings. I think it's over like 120 hours worth of trainings. I'm putting all of that for people that join what I call the Tarver Academy Honor Roll. It's a small group of educators who are trying to get better every week, and I send out weekly emails during the school year to where you're getting templates, you're getting resources, back to school starter kits, you're getting templates for Google Forms, trainings, PDs, tons of stuff every single week delivered to your inbox, and also you have access to all of these trainings. That is available if you go to tarveracademy.com/honor roll if you want to. I think it's a great decision. I think it's a great decision. Nobody's in here. Who am I talking to? I'm not talking to anybody. Okay, y'all feel good? Y'all ready to start? Y'all feel good? This is a little warm up. We'll explain what's going on. Everybody feel good? 1 to 10. Put in the chat how you feel today. Or give me this, how about this? Give me an emoji of how you're feeling today. That'd be better, 1 to 10, or give me an emoji. I'd love to see it. Or just give me a word. You're like, I don't want to do an emoji. Give me a word. How you feeling today? And let's get rolling. Remember, input in the chat, take notes, learn, grow. Welcome to the best professional development that you're gonna do. Not guaranteed, but it's an opinion, but it's also true, but it might be biased, but it's gonna be a great summer. It's gonna be a great training. Hope you guys learn something. Hope this adds you value that you can then bring to your students and make your school, your community, yourself better in some way. Guys, we're about to get started. Y'all excited? Y'all ready? About to do this. Let's get ready to learn and have fun. Tarver Academy. Let's go. Let's go. Hit it. Let's go. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us for Innovation in Education. My name's Tyler, by the way. Hey, what's up? Tyler here, Tarver Academy. What's up? Holla at your boy. I'm sorry. I don't know why I say that. I say it because I'm on YouTube too much. That's on me, okay? I hope you're having a great day. Today we're talking about how to be innovative in the classroom or in your building or at your school. So, like as I've told you guys before, I've taught. I was the principal of a pretty innovative school that had a bunch of waivers from the state to be able to try some new things, some innovative things. And then I moved to central office and I got the chance to try some stuff with central office where we were doing things at our high school and our junior high with regards to our schedules and then, incorporating technology. And it was kind of starting out that training students when they have freedom and when they have technology and they have access to all this stuff, how can we rework what education looks like to better equip our students to learn to work in the real world? Because a lot of them, if you're an Uber driver, you have to manage your schedule. There's nobody genuinely telling you when to be at work and when not to. You have to manage your schedule. You have to manage your income. You're an entrepreneur. These are skills that we need to teach students, and running them through the assembly line of the traditional school, that's not always the best way to train them on being, in the real world. And I say that education is the real world, but out there where they're the ones having to make the money and manage their time and do it all on their own. And I want to try to best equip our students not only to learn, quadratic formulas and learn, read the Odyssey and learn all these things. I want them to be able to do all the stuff that comes with being an adult, the stuff they're going to use every day, no matter what they do. And so what today is kind of a look from different perspectives, different people I've gotten the chance to talk to and work with and hear from about innovation and trying innovative things. Now I'm a dean of a college and we have an innovative schedule. We're trying to rework what higher education looks like. How can we not only teach them, but give them practical skills? How can we not only let them learn, but lead and fail in that leadership and then also learn? We don't want them to fail, but if they do, it's a safe place for them to fail and learn and grow. That's the thing with innovation. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to have progress. You always have to try to be making things better. I think you guys have heard this, I'm sure, from multiple people, but I think I put it in my book, one of the most dangerous phrases in the English language is, the reason we do it is because we've always done it that way. That's the way we've always done it. How many of you guys in the chat, have you ever heard that phrase when you were trying to incorporate something? Well, that's the way we've always done it. Rework lesson plans. Are lesson plans helping people? Are they actually helping me track my progress and what I'm using in my classroom to make things better for students? If not, let's rework it. Let's make it better. And I'm not saying we're going to get it right on the first try, but if we rework it, learn from it and be like, okay, let's try to do a combination of what we used to have and what we just did and find something in the middle. It's not always about perfection. It's about progress. We have to keep trying to make things better and learning from our mistakes and learning from those around us. Whenever we went to a flex mod schedule, it means that we were on a traditional 7 or 8 period day, and then we switched it up and we had all these chunks of time where students had a little bit of more free time in their week to work on their own or do independent study stuff. And the students had to take over more of their schedule. Before we did that, we didn't just jump in and go, here we go. We're going to try it. And this is the way we're going to try it. And we're going to stick with it for 5 years. No, we went and observed multiple places that had been doing this for years. We talked to different people. You're going to get the chance to hear from some people that we talked to before we jumped into the deep end of that type of schedule. And in the process, we're talking to our teachers before we rolled it out, and we're answering questions, and we're hearing their thoughts and opinions, and we're listening, and we're taking in their advice. And we told them, we said, look, if this thing looks the same 6 months from now from when we start as it does when we think it's going to look like, then we failed because we didn't learn anything in that process. We'd say the phrase in education, modify and adjust. If you're not modifying and adjusting how you're doing education, and you're just sticking to the way somebody told you to do it, how do you know if you're actually making it better? How are you adapting it around what your students need in today's day and time? We need to constantly be making ourselves better, making our students better, and making our systems and procedures better. If not, and we just stick to it because it's easy, how much in the world worthwhile is easy? I would say most everything that's worthwhile is something that was difficult and that cost you something and that frustrated you even at times. But you learned from that and you grew and you got better. That's the goal with all of this. You're going to hear some ideas. You're going to hear some things some educators have done. You're going to hear some things they've tried. It's not all, like, there's nobody in here that is like pitching this perfect, here's the solution to all your problems. It's going to be great. Try it at your school for $5.99 a day, for 18 days a month. You know, it's not going to be this perfect solution. All these things work for maybe a school, or maybe they didn't work for a certain school. Maybe they learned something in that process that they can apply to other things they're doing. It is a process. The learning process in your classroom for students every day, like they don't have to get it all the first day of school. Okay, guys, we're going to talk about the syllabus, and then we're going to go over all 16 chapters, and you're going to take your final exam at the end of class. No, it's a progression over the year of learning and growing and retaining and modifying. That's the same approach we need to have to our teaching. And so what I've got today is I've got several sessions and a couple of Q&As and a lot of interviews, because that's the thing, I want to hear from other educators. You know, if you guys have seen some of the stuff I'm doing with like my Google Innovator project, or, you know, some of the stuff I'm doing with Google and training schools and the Baller Teacher stuff, like I'm trying some stuff in education that could have an impact or make your life easier, be more efficient, build more connection with students. So it's like a lot of what we're doing may seem innovative. And so you're getting the chance to hear from me a lot. And so what I wanted to do today was, I'm talking in it some, but really I'd love for you to hear from some of my friends that have talked to me over the past couple years. And that's the idea. I just want you to chat with them and hear their thoughts, hear their experiences, hear stuff they've tried in their classroom, and hopefully get some ideas on things you can try in your building or your classroom in the future. And so we're about to get started. This first session is my good friend Joshua Harrison. I sat down with him a while back and we talked about innovation in education. You know, I was a principal at a school that had a lot of innovation. Josh came in and he took over that role after I left. And this dude, he is so good at building culture. He is so good at getting everybody bought into something and then moving something forward. He took what I had, where I felt like I was just like, if we're swimming, you know, sometimes you swim for fun, sometimes you swim to race, other times you're swimming to stay alive. That's what I felt like a lot of times when we first started our school. And it was like I was constantly trying to solve problems or make things more efficient. And it's like Josh came in, and it's like me, if I wanted to be selfish or prideful, I'm like, oh gosh, I hope he doesn't look better than me. I hope he doesn't do better than me. No, it's like I want to give him everything as a leader. I want him to be as successful as possible, because that means it's better for those students in that school that I care about. And so I handed things to him. He took some of that stuff, dropped it. He was like, you know what? We're not going to do this. We're going to focus on this, this, and this. Other things he took and he made better. He built some culture around that. He built this personality around this school. And I think that he gets education in a big way. And he's the principal now at another school, and he is doing some really big things. And he is so good at taking something that's been existing and been doing things a certain way and making them better. And so I'm excited for you guys to hear from him and his thoughts on innovation in education. I might throw some thoughts at you as well, but let's mainly listen to Joshua, because he's way better than me pretty much in every way. So I'm going to stop talking on here, and you're going to get a chance from here from Mr. Joshua Harrison and myself. Here we go. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Tyler here again, and I have the privilege of being joined by my great friend Joshua Harrison. Josh is the principal at Conway Christian, and he is a pioneer with regards to innovation in the classroom. He's one of the best culture people I've ever met with students, schools, districts. He does an incredible job with helping move things forward, making a positive culture, and I think he's got a lot of really great experiences and thoughts to run by you guys that you can apply in your classroom, or, you know, your whole school if you're an administrator, or you as a teacher make a difference in the whole school. Why don't you go ahead and do that right now? Go ahead. All Josh, right. Did I miss anything? Do you got any accolades you want to throw in there? All these great things you've done?
Just a major mustache game that's going on right now.
Mustache game's strong, that's for sure.
Plus it works with the little COVID, mask.
Yeah, that's right. It keeps that away.
Keeps that away.
Yeah. Speaking of, this is not speaking of COVID at all, but we got our Mumford & Sons matching shirts on.
Hey, that's how we do it.
Bring it for you guys. We bring it straight to you guys, straight from Not Compton, but like Central Arkansas at least.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. So Josh is going to start us off, and we're just going to have a conversation and talk about some cool stuff that you can do.
Yeah. Well, Tyler, I've known Tyler for a long time, since he was an actual student. It's
right.
Great story. Tyler was a student of mine back in the day. He was my assistant coach there when he was a senior, when I was coaching basketball.
Yeah, well, it was fun stuff. It was fun stuff. We had a good run.
And then Tyler came back as my peer, as my colleague, and then my boss for a while.
Yeah, that was fun.
And now we're just friends.
Now we're just friends. We're just boys now. We're just doing conferences with you guys.
Just doing conferences. So one of the things that him and I really kind of hit to our heart is being creative, being innovative for our kids and for our students. And so Schools of Innovation, that's something that we've been really, really excited about, figuring out the best ways to do that. And to me, innovation in education really comes down to three things. It's finding out what the needs and the strengths of three groups are. Your community, where you live, where your school is, where those constituents are. It's your kids, your family. So for us at Conway Christian, it's not just our students, but it's the families that those students are a part of, and what their strengths, what their needs are. And lastly, it's the strengths of your staff. And so whenever we're looking at what makes a school innovative and what makes a school change and flow, it's going to be those three groups that we take into account. So that's what we want to talk about a little bit today, is all three of those different groups and kind of how we can hit them and how we could utilize them to make this a crazy, fun, wild, exciting place to be, and the best learning environment for not only our kids, but for all the kids in the community. So.
Absolutely. And so with regards to schools that you've had experience in and in the situations like this, you mentioned COVID, which a lot of us had, I say a lot of us, everybody pretty much went remote learning. Whenever you were a principal, you were the principal of a school that had a combination of in-person classrooms, in-person teachers, but then also blended learning where it's mixed up with regards to how it's delivered, and then also fully online. How do you see, because you talked about three pretty important parts of it, with regards to that role, how did you control the culture in the community when you have students that aren't there in person? Because I know a lot of teachers see a disconnect with that digital divide. Like, how did you still have community even though you're not seeing parents every single day? You're not seeing students every single day. Like, what were some of the tips or things you learned?
Well, whenever we were at Minor Academy, whenever I was at Minor Academy in Bauxite, one of the things that we had is we did use a lot of online platforms. Or we had an LMS that we used. We also had in teachers that were actually in the classroom, and so the teachers were there to help and to help accentuate what we were doing online. So the biggest thing that we did there was we built relationships. We knew the needs of our kids. So once we knew the needs of our kids and kind of what their strengths and weaknesses were, it was easier for us to figure out how to best serve them. Yeah. So in a situation like this, when we come into 2019, 2020, we come into this weird situation, we didn't go with the straight AMI packet type thing. We actually had one parent that said, where we're just doing AMI work, should it really matter? And I said, we're not doing AMI work. We're continuing our education of what we need to be learning and what our kids need to get for this last quarter of 2020. And so we actually were able to take that model that we had before, like we were using at Minor Academy, because one of our biggest things here at Conway Christian is building relationships, building rapport, getting to know the kids, so we know their strengths and weaknesses, know which kids needs a little more help, which kids may need a little bit more time, which kids we may need to adjust their stuff a little bit. So we were actually able to work with those kids a little bit closer, and the teachers knew kind of their needs. So we like a lot of schools, and we weren't doing anything probably that is breaking the mold, but we were Zooming with our kids as far as a whole group. We were Zooming with just maybe the girls in one class and the boys in another class, just to be able to talk and have a good discussion. But we were also the teachers were also doing a lot of one-on-one Zooming. So if a kid needs individualized help, they were coming with them, and they were doing some tutoring and stuff between either FaceTime or Zooming one-on-one, so that way they could get that help. And because we knew that there's certain kids that needed that little extra to pump them through. We try to focus on those main things that they needed to know to kind of give them the foundations for the next year, because this is unprecedented. I mean, every week we kind of made adjustments. We started off, we were doing all 7 classes every day of the week. Yeah. Then we started making adjustments, and we started going to kind of a Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday model, kind of a block model, but we did that with the core classes, and then Friday we use that as elective. So we were trying to find creative ways to take some of the stress and pressure off of the families, because I feel like we were stressing families out, because those parents weren't teachers. They're not the ones teaching math. So if we can focus a little bit more on giving great instruction, so the teachers were actually creating videos of lessons of them doing, and then they would Zoom with them to kind of go over ideas and questions they had. But we were able to focus more on math a few days a week and focus on science a few days a week, and that way there was less for those. Then it wasn't as overwhelming for the kids and the parents. So it's kind of how we try to approach this kind of strange time. So, we really needed to know kind of our constituents.
Yeah, and you talked about that with regards to how do you, I know it's hard to shape, your community's culture, but how do you either make an impact or you, like you said, you understand it and you meet the needs of your community? What are some things that you've done in the past as a district administrator or a principal with regards to that?
Well, I think when I look at the community, I look at like what is the strength of the community? What are we doing well in our community, and where are some places that we lack? As a school, we like to put our kids out in the community to serve. That's one of our biggest heart here at Conway Christian is to serve. And so we're looking at whether it's at a food bank or whether it's just going out and being able to. Our choir, we have a great choir, going out to sing to some elderly people in our community, but find the needs of our community. Also, we want to find the strengths of our community, and we want to let our kids learn from that. So we like to get our kids out and do some where they're going into the different businesses and actually be able to work with some of those business owners to get to know what they need and what our kids need to learn as they get older. And so I think if we don't utilize that, we're missing a major thing because we need to know what our kids should be learning, not just the content, but in some instances what those businesses are looking for our kids to know. So it's more than just content. It's how do we speak to customers? How do we handle certain situations, and it's great to get them in an actual workplace to be able to see what's going on and put their hands on stuff, get their hands dirty, so to speak, or at least kind of see a little bit more what's going on in the community and what our community is bringing to the table here in Arkansas. Yeah,
that's really cool, and I love to when you do that. What you're doing is you're building in those students like, hey, this is important to us, not just your education, but it's important to us that you serve, that you volunteer, that you're connected with the community. And so it allows them to build that in them now as they go out into the workforce or to college or, extending their education. So what are some other things that you've seen as far as being an innovator with schools or building culture or connecting with community?
When it comes down to the students, you really got to find their heart. Yeah. All kids learn differently. I went to school thinking I was going to do something in the medical field, do something in science. When I went to college, took a whole bunch of science classes and did well in them, but it was miserable. Ended up taking a drawing class for fun one semester. I've always loved to draw, and I'm like, hey, I need to major in art. Yeah. And so I majored in art, loved it, just absolutely loved it, and then figured, what am I going to do with this? You know? So my thought process was always a little bit different. So I think when it comes to students, we put them in straight rows, and we give them the same book, and we give them the same assignment, and we expect them all to come up with the same answers to those basic questions. And I think at times that's when students become stagnant. That's whenever they become bored with the system, and they become kind of, wanting to kind of get away from what's going on in that classroom. They get bored, they lose interest, and then sometimes that's when they have troubles, not only academically but socially and behaviorally. So I think giving them things and to where they can actually play off their strengths. So one of the things we tried to do whenever I was at Minor Academy, and definitely one of the things we're working on here and changing that culture here a little bit, is to take each kid where they're at, try to figure out where they're going, and then we have to determine what it will take for us to get them there. And that's going to look different for every kid. For me, the days of the straight row, the sit and get type stuff is gone. It is useful and needed in certain areas. I know there's times when you need the recitation in math. But there's also those times that we need to give the kids choice, and we need to say, what is your strength? What can you bring into it? And what can you teach your colleagues, your peers, through your research, through what you do? So we love the idea of choice boards. We started that at Minor Academy one year, had an English teacher that helped us kind of develop some choice boards. And what we did, we basically said, all right, kids, if you want, let's say you want an A, you need 900 points. If you want a B, you need at least 800 points. We gave them options. So they could have large let's say that maybe they have writing projects that they could come up. They may be 50 points apiece. They may have a major research paper that may be worth 200 points. They could have a project, like some sort of creative project that may be worth 150 points, or creating a video that may be worth 25 points or 30 points. So we gave them different options on those choice boards, and that gave them a chance to find what their strengths were and be able to play off those strengths. Now, they may still have to write some papers, say if it's an English class, but they also can create something. So to me, if you're talking about the theme of Romeo and Juliet and you make a 30-second movie trailer based on that theme, or you do a schematic drawing of something, or maybe a movie poster based on the theme that you've created, you still have to do research. So whether you're writing a paper, you're creating something, you're drawing something, you're building something, kids are going to learn, and then they're going to bring that to the table, and other kids are going to learn based on theirs. So I really believe that giving kids choice and finding out what their strengths are will help not only them learn better, but help their peers that are around them learn as well.
Yeah, that's good. Speaking of that, like, I know that whenever you're the principal, there was a ton of technology there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we had devices for every student. You know, they had options, some Chromebooks, some iPads, some MacBooks. Like, we had options for students. What are some practical things that you learned with regards to teaching students utilizing technology? Like, I know teachers now, like you said, you mentioned AMI packets earlier. We've talked about, we want to do some Zoom calls. Like, what are some ideas that you learned, like, being in the trenches of this before it was required for everybody?
Right.
Like, do you have any tips for teachers that are pushing to that technology?
I mean, there's so many things changing. Like, from the time I was at Minor Academy just to now, which has just been a few years, technology has changed completely. So there's so many new apps and different things. I mean, honestly, we ask kids all the time, hey, what are you finding? What are you using? Teachers, what are you utilizing? So, we went to the old, solid Google Classroom here whenever we had to go to that, because our kids were already comfortable with it, our staff was comfortable with it, our parents were comfortable with it, and so we felt like whenever we all of a sudden we went to virtual learning, to distance learning this year for that last 9 weeks, we stuck with Google Classroom, but we utilized there's different platforms that we use. Of course, you've got Google Hangout now, and we've got Zoom, and everybody's gotten comfortable with those, so we kind of stuck with some of those solid things. But now what we found is that some of the math teachers found some really cool apps in math that they started using, and then same thing with science, found some stuff. So the one thing I told our staff from this year is, like, make notes, bring together, when we come back together, let's bring all these things that we learned, and let's try to help each other become stronger, better people. And that's one of the things when we say innovation with staff. It's like, what are their strengths? Well, we have one teacher that's been teaching math for 25 years. She never videoed herself. She's never put anything online like that. She's done everything through paper. So she actually became a better teacher in this quarter, that she had to get herself out of her comfort zone. She was up in her classroom a lot this quarter, just recording videos and doing Google, doing some Zooms and Google Hangouts with her students, just trying to do some one-on-one stuff with them. But she became a stronger teacher. She also utilized a few of us, staff members, and a few other teachers, to kind of give her pointers and to help her. So we probably became better because we helped her learn different things as well. So, I mean, the biggest thing I would say is as a teacher, you guys have so much more knowledge of what's out there than I do educationally as far as technology, but share that with your administrators, share it with each other, share it with your students. Ask your students what they're using, because they're using stuff, I promise. Especially when it comes
TikTok.
to doing math.
They're on TikTok.
Besides TikTok.
I don't know if they're doing math on TikTok, but they're on TikTok for sure.
Oh, it's all that. You look at all that, the basketball stuff and all that stuff that's on TikTok. They're probably doing math on TikTok somewhere.
Yeah, there's some sort of a parabola that we can just dissect those shots. Yeah, for real. That's crazy. It's wild to me to see how fast technology changes. And one of my things that you said, I think you summarized it great. You guys were using Google Classroom, and so when you made the shift, you were like, we're already using it.
Right.
We're comfortable with it. My thing is, and I think teachers, a lot of times agree, is when there's a new trend or there's a new app or a new something, it's like they feel like it's a requirement. Administrators a lot of times, like, it's a requirement to do it. And I'm not saying you shouldn't incorporate. You should incorporate. Hey, kids, make this video or do this, or do this TikTok related to the American Revolution, whatever it is. You should incorporate those. But I'm talking about, like, full programs. Like, how many full programs have you seen go through in your time in education? Like, it's like, oh, we got to use this and this and this. And whenever we did the same thing. we were using Google Classroom, and my thought is, like 98% of these students, they used Google Classroom in high school. Why shift that to a college? You know, why make them learn something completely new when Google Classroom works great and it's free? It's like, use the programs that people are comfortable with, so people aren't stressed out and being like, not only do I have to learn, you know, the Pythagorean theorem online, I've got to learn a whole new LMS or a whole new system or a whole new delivery. It's like, if you can do it, use it. And there's enough resources out on the internet that you can put into Google Classroom to teach and learn. And that's one of the things, you know, I've talked to some leaders, and I'd love to see what you guys are thinking for the fall too. I've talked to some leaders about, like, they're pitching, okay, if we can have regular classes, it'll be regular. But if not, we might have to do like a hybrid model where it's like half the students come on Monday, Wednesday, some come on Tuesday, Thursday, and then Friday's, you know, optional. And then others are just like, no, we're prepping all virtual. What do? Do you buy something? Do you spend something? And I've been on the end as an administrator where we dished out, you know, 40 to 50 grand a year on an LMS. But what I told them is, I said, look, you are right now at the point where used to we asked our teachers, we want you to create videos, like you said, we want you to do this. Now it's like they have to teach their classes. So if you can, you could pay 40 to 100 grand for an LMS, which would be great. But then at the end of the year, do you have that next year? No, you're paying another amount. Whereas if you spend a year or two developing these skills, filming videos, collaborating with other teachers, talking, sharing, finding resources. The internet's a big place.
Yeah.
You can find stuff on the internet. Like, it's everywhere. Students find stuff all the time on the internet when you're wanting to learn something else.
Oh, they find like videos of people teaching math that looks a lot like you.
Yeah.
Just with like way more bangs.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only thing. I'm like, it looks just like Tyler, but with way
But
more
the
bangs.
hair was like, and it was like curved to the side. I was like, I taught like that. Like, I walked in wearing khakis and a shirt, looking like I just got off a scarecrow.
Rapping about math. It's one of my favorite ones.
That was good. Let's show that video
Subscribe.
here.
Subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Dude, that was crazy. That's the thing. Students know, like, when you're trying to make things difficult for them versus like, hey, I understand that you're stressed or you're trying to learn this along with learning this. Like, let's stop making things so complicated for the sake of complication. And I know that looks different in every classroom. It looks different in every school. And I know we don't all have control on that, but I think that too often there are things that we overcomplicate that can be simplified.
Well, I think for you guys, for the teachers, I think it's the same thing. I talked to my science teacher. She's been teaching science for almost 30 years. Great teacher. She really builds into her kids. She knows her content. But when it came to having to create a video, having to do these Zooms, having to do that every day of the week during this ninth week that they were out, she was really stressed. And so, you know, that's one of the things I started talking to her, talking to some other ones, and we made adjustments. We actually went after, we waited for the first 2 weeks, and then once the governor said, look, we're not coming back to school, we're going to do this till the end of the year, we made an adjustment right then. Because we want to be prepared to come right back to school. If we were going to come back into a 7-period-a-day model, we were going to have to come back in a 7-period-a-day model. We need to be ready. But once they said we weren't, said, all right, what does this look like? Sat down with a few, virtually, with a few other of my staff members, and we decided what best way to approach it. So we actually cut it, and we had math. We did math 4 days a week because math was so important. We had to get through so many things. But science, we did 2 days a week. History and English, we did 2 days a week. Bible, we did 2 days a week. We did our electives on Friday. And so that way the kids and the parents, maximum, were going to focus on 3 classes for an evening. Because before that, they were getting 6, 7 classes worth of stuff, so they're getting the content. Plus, they're going to have to turn around and work on stuff. Parents were stressed. The teachers were stressed because they had to prep it every day. They had to grade it every day. So we wanted to take some of that off of them. I did not want them to have to worry about stressing over learning a new LMS.
Yeah.
Or saying, hey, we're going to do something different just to be different. We wanted at least them to be comfortable because this is such a different time. Now going forward, we're going to find out what works and what didn't work, and then we can have those adjustments. I've got some teachers saying, man, I love Zoom so much that I'm going to start Zoom recording all my classes and just stick them on Google Classroom, so if a student needs to go back and rewatch anything, it's there. Or if a student's gone to a basketball game or football game, or they have to leave early or they're sick, they have that content there.
Yeah, that's good. What are you guys, so we also, not only did we get to do the blended learning, the online stuff, we got to be a part of an initiative that our school went, like, the whole high school went to a flex mod schedule, which means that it's not your bell schedule or your 7-period a day. like an alternate, like there's these modules in your day. Some classes you go to for 25 minutes, some 50, some an hour and 20, hour and 15 minutes. It like alternates throughout the week. And the idea is that you get this spare time in between there. And the thought is that this spare time that students get, because it's essentially cutting one class period a day. Like you get time in the week. Like you took your whole time for the week and you think of like one period a day that you had a high school student. If you take that amount of time, you're essentially cutting out one class period a day from each of your classes. Now that for the whole week, that gives these students these pockets of time. And the thought was, this gives our students time that if they are struggling in a subject area, they can go see a teacher in that content area and get one-on-one tutoring. Because that's the idea. You talked about it early on. If we can personalize this learning, like deliver the content like in a large way. Here's a video of me teaching. You can deliver that. Then you use your in-class time for specific stuff, or they use that spare time to meet with the teacher, and it'd be like a one-on-one Zoom call now if it's virtual. But they would get to meet in person, one-on-one with these students, and also it rewarded the students. This is where we saw a big success, where a lot of students, your class moves too slow for them. They get it. They get it when you explain it the first time, but then you have to re-explain it for the other half of the class that didn't. They have the opportunity to be like, okay, I got that. What's next? And they get to move on and advance. So it's like technology bridges that gap that was making us all move at the same pace. Now it's like the kids that can move fast can move faster. The kids that move a little bit slower and need more help, they can get individualized help. What are some ways that you guys are looking at, if we go back in the fall in person, what are you guys looking at as far as schedule-wise, and then what are your thoughts behind that? Like, what are your reasons?
Here at Conway Christian, we are a college prep school. Yeah. And so we want to get kids ready for college. Well, there's more than just content that gets kids ready for college. And I feel like coming in, the first thing we did is we kind of looked at the schedule. Okay, we were on an 8-period day, but there's a lot of downtime for staff and for students. We had quite a few traditional study halls. So we went to a 7-period day so we could best utilize our time. Well, I'd started making the shift and adjustments to a flex mod system for next year. This is before the COVID came down and hit. We started playing with the schedule, started working on that. And the reason behind that is because for me, college preparedness is not just content. It's going to be how responsible are you with your time? How can you best use that time in class to get the material that you need? How can you best study for that? So we were starting to looking at that. We also, a lot of our kids take very, very strenuous courses. And so taking 7 or 8 of those in a day and then having that homework each night is a lot, and it's a lot on those kids. Plus, we're actually cramming that stuff down their throat as fast as possible. So with the flex mod system, like you said, Tyler, that there's certain days that, let's say, science may meet for an hour and 25 minutes. That's a great time for them to be able to do a great hands-on lab, where they can do their pre-lab, do their lab, kind of start, and then kind of wrap that up. Where they may meet an hour and 25 minutes one day and 55 minutes the other 2 days, where an English class may meet 55 minutes 3 days a week in a 25-minute period once. So like if we're getting ready for that, that's more like what they're going to see in college. They also, I love the idea, and you kind of mentioned it too, that our teachers will have, they're going to have office hours. They're going to have ILT time, independent learning time, to where they're available to help kids. They're going to be walking around helping kids. One, they're going to get to know the kids. So they're building those relationships. What are you working on? What are you struggling with? And it may be a science teacher helping with math. You know what I mean? So it gives us the opportunity to build relationships, which is a huge core value for us, is relationship building. But also it gives those kids a chance to get that help, because each of those classes you have a 25-minute block. So if I have kids that are struggling in my class, I know all of them have a 25-minute block that I can pull them out.
Gosh, that scared me. I'm sorry. That terrified me a little bit.
Thought something was about to get us.
That was a wake-up call, everybody. That's a fun trick.
That is fun.
You know what I used to do? I've done it in class before as a teacher, and I've also done it in PDs, is I will tell everybody, because I have a habit of running over and talking too much, because, I talk too much. And I would have everyone set their alarm. Hey, Siri, set timer for 44 minutes or whatever. If it was a 45-minute, Siri just... Sorry, Siri. I just turned on Siri.
Forget it, Siri.
Never mind, Siri.
Go away.
And I would have everyone in the class set it, and then you start teaching. I'm ruining this entire thing. I'm so sorry, everybody. And so I would have everybody set that alarm, And because I pulled my clock out of my classroom when I was teaching, because I hated every student starting to put up their bag and do all this. But then you also don't want them to be late to the next class, so I would have everybody set it for like a minute before, and then it was always really fun because we were in the middle of teaching or doing something, and then you would hear 30 all these alarms going off and music. It was great. It was fun.
It's like time to cut.
It's time to cut. It's like, let's go, guys. Let's get out of here. So that's just a thought. Sorry.
No, but with FlexMod, one of the things that we were kind of looking at is that a kid may have 7 classes they're having to do all that homework, and the teachers are prepping it. So at the max, a teacher may teach 5 classes a day. A kid may have 5 classes, more than likely 4. Mm-hmm. So that's just less for them to have to focus on. Now, there may be a little bit more work for them to focus on that night, but there's less subjects for them to deal with.
Yeah.
So it's a way for us to be able to kind of get them prepared for what college life's going to look like, where they will have 3 days a week or 2 days a week that they're going to classes, specific classes, but the material that gets a little bit more intense. So our teachers also in that time, they know that this is my time. I have this time is sacred, and this is the time for me to make sure my kids get their information. We could be doing some flipped classrooms if possible, if they want to do that, where then there's a lot of discussion time. It could be a lot of in-depth lecture at that point, where there's discussion, debate. That's a time for interactive learning is what I keep just telling. It's got to be interactive learning. We're not going to just do homework time.
Yeah.
So, and plus then the kids know when I have flex time, it's a great time for me to get homework done, to get stuff accomplished.
Yep.
So we've been looking at FlexMod. Now, if we don't go back full time, then that may change. We may go back if we're back just virtually, or we're back part of the day, part of the week. Then we're going to make some adjustments. We've started putting plans into place for multiple options.
Yeah, I think that everybody's on that game. But that's the nice thing too. When you incorporate that time, it's not as huge of a transition whenever it goes to, okay, you're going to be in class this much and the rest you do at home. Like I know in college, they say for every hour you're supposed to be in a class in person, you can assume triple that, and that's how much time you're going to be spending in that class outside of it. Right. And so one of the things that I always tell my teachers is kind of like the basics for a classroom model, because we have an innovative classroom model with our college where the students aren't in class as much as they are in a traditional college class, because it's web enhanced, so they get almost half, like 40 to 50% of that class is delivered online. And so my teachers, when I first told them this, their thought was, well, that cuts my class time in half. How am I going to get all my content out? I was like, well, how they have a thing called cell phones where you can record yourself, or the YouTube where you can find a video of someone teaching it and you can deliver it. So what I told them is the basics are, and this goes for if you guys have like a model where you're in class a little bit of time, but you're out of class some. This is kind of like ground level zero for my advice to people. Whatever you were going to say to your class that they're not interacting on. So when I taught high school math, there was a good 20 minutes of every class where I'm just talking about the new topic. And they don't even have questions yet because they don't know what questions to have because I'm presenting the topic. And so what I tell teachers is, whatever you were going to say that they're not talking back to you on or asking you active questions, that is now delivered outside of class. We don't utilize our class time for things where it's like right now where I'm just talking. I'm just saying this. I would need, if there was 30 teachers here or 100 teachers here, they would be listening. They're passive, like a passive audience in this. They're taking notes and doing stuff, and they might have questions after, or like obviously in the chat if you're doing something like that, but they might have questions after. But right now, I'm just trying to get all the information out. All of that is now delivered via video. I can do a voice memo on my phone. I can find a YouTube video of someone already teaching that, send it to them. Hey guys, watch this before class. And then when class starts, that's when they utilize me as a teacher. I am there and I'm answering individual questions, like you said earlier, personalizing it for them. I know how my students learn. That's where students become more important than we ever were when we were just the purveyors of knowledge and information. Like, it's education's changing, the world's changing. Like used to, we had to memorize every president in order. Now I can go, hey Siri, who was the 17th president of the United States? And it's going to tell me instead of me having to like go in and memorize it. Like the information's there. So I don't know, as far as like just the overall, like what you've seen in the evolution of education since you were teaching in a traditional classroom with something like, it's hard to imagine, like I taught math. It's hard to imagine, like, it's hard for students to learn math online.
Right.
I get that. because I live that. You taught art for a while, and so it's like, and science, which are two other subjects that it's very difficult to learn online. What are some advice you'd have for teachers that are trying to do these subjects where it's less, here's the content, it's more like, I have this little problem here, or I'm messed up here. What are some, or I'm having to draw this outside of this. What are some advice and thoughts you have for teachers that are trying to deal with that?
Well, I think, something in the creative field like art, one thing we saw is you're not going to have the materials. Like, so you may not have your oil paints or your acrylics or your, whatever, your pastels or whatever you're using. So, there were so many cool things online that we saw that kids were doing in the arts just with what was available.
Yeah.
As far, even, they may be doing art based on cooking. Way food prepared and what it looked like, or outside going and finding flowers and rocks and stuff and creating things with that. So you can be creative in what you have available to you. There, like you said, there's so many things online that you can see. There's, virtual dissection and stuff. It's not the same as putting your hands on it.
It's true.
But the more that you can give them the opportunities to see, there's so many videos. YouTube is such a wide wealth of knowledge that you can find so many great things there that different people are teaching, or different people are saying things, some of the similar things you're saying, but they're being able to do it in a different way. Those kids are have a better chance of learning that. I think with innovation, to me, this is the biggest thing with innovation. Innovation is a change. It's going to constantly change. It has to change based on your clientele. It has to change based on what the needs of your community is, kind of like we talked about earlier. If your community needs change, because of a pandemic, what's the needs now? All of a sudden, there's more need in healthcare than was before. So we have to be able to provide that for our kids. One thing we're going to try to do here now is, because we're small, we don't have staff members to be able to teach medical terminology and intro to nursing and stuff like that. But we can definitely do it via virtual. So we've contacted an LMS. We're going to use that to be able to offer some stuff for our kids. So we have more kids that maybe would want to go into the healthcare fields because there is more need in that now. Also, we're going to have to look at the needs or the strengths of our staff. As this change, we've had some staff members that are leaving us. We've got some new ones coming in. We want to take the strengths of our staff members and build on those. As far as math, let's say we want to go back to the foundations of math to strengthen that. So that's what's going to make the upper level math even stronger, is to be able to go back and do that. That's based on the strengths of some of our staff members that we have that are here. So I think that is very important as well.
I agree. That's awesome. So before we close out, is there anything else you'd like to add? Thoughts, ideas, resources, anything you can think of that you would want to tell teachers as they learn and adapt and grow with something that a lot of them may not be familiar with or feel like they signed up for? When you go to school to be a teacher for 4 years, or however long it takes to be a teacher for you. Some people like to go the scenic route,
right?
I like to call it. So whenever you do that, enjoy the ride. So whenever we get out, we don't anticipate, I'm going to teach in this environment, or I'm going to teach like this, and a lot of them are get thrown off by it. Do you have any advice for anybody who's trying to help expand the innovation, their mindset, their culture, anything at all that you would throw out at people?
I would say 100% go watch your coworkers teach.
Good.
Like, I offer that to all of our staff members. Like, if you want to go watch anybody in our building teach, let me know. I'll get your classes covered if we need to do that. Use your prep period. Use your ILT, which is your independent learning time, or those office hours. Just let me know. We'll get it covered if we need to. And we want you to go watch each other teach. Because one, you're going to learn from watching your colleagues, the ones who've been doing it for years, and the brand new ones. Like if you've been doing this for 25 years, go watch the brand new kids teach, because they're bringing in ideas. I love the idea of going and watching people in the surrounding area teach, even maybe not even in our school district, is to go watch other people, see what they're doing. I offer that opportunity. I'll get you a sub to go do that. If anybody wants to come here and see what we're doing, feel free. Look at all different styles, from public school to private school to charter school. There's so many awesome ideas out there. Don't get set in your ways.
That's good.
I think the big thing is we look at kids that get left behind, and that was our biggest push at Minor Academy, was not leaving kids behind, making sure everybody has the same opportunity to graduate. A lot of our kids there, and one of the main reasons I feel like we started Minor Academy several years back, led by you and the staff members back then at Bauxite, was we had kids that wouldn't graduate, that would basically, they were dropping out because they had to work, They lost interest. Maybe they were behavior issues because of them sitting in the straight row for 15 minutes. They just couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
So we got to know each one of those kids, and we saw those kids succeed and grow, and we really built relationships with them, and we poured into them. We call it alternative education, right?
Yeah.
ALE, alternative learning environment, right?
Yeah.
It seemed like a bad term. Well, honestly, alternative learning should be something we do for everybody. And that's what our goal is here, is to get to know each individual student. And that's my goal in education, get to know each individual student, have our staff know them. Our staff they don't even have duties. I take all the duties. My duty for them is to be out in the halls in between classes and get to know the kids, talk to them, get to know them.
Build relationships.
Because if they build those relationships, they get to know where they're at. They get to know which ones struggle, which ones do well, which ones they could use to maybe help teach and peer teach each other. Man, our kids will grow. And that's the whole point, is like, don't leave any of those kids behind. So I think that is our point. Even though we're a college prep school, we still have kids that struggle. And we have kids that do well. And so we've got to find that way to be able to reach every one of those. Because, again, my goal is to find out where each student wants to go and where they're at, how to best get them there. So we don't look at a kid that's labeled special ed or a kid that's labeled gifted. Mm-hmm. Man, we just try to figure out where they're at and where they want to go, because they all have some gains they need to be made. Yeah. So that's our goal. And to me, for an innovative school, it's find whatever way you can to get those kids where they can be. And to me, that's where you're being innovative. That's where the innovation comes from. It's not based on the school building. It's not based on the schedule. It's not based on the classes you offered. Honestly, it's based on the people. Yep. It's based on the staff. It's based on your administration. It's based on your kids and the families that are involved in that. And to me, if you can find a way to bring and meld those things together, using technology, using relationships, then you've done your job as a teacher. So, I mean, that honestly, innovation comes down to that. Innovation is equal to relationships, you know? So, but I do have one other question for you.
For me? Oh.
Yeah, I got a question for you.
Okay. Wow, flipping the script. No, I'm just kidding.
So, I've always wondered, French press or pour over?
You know what? I'm a French press guy because I know how to do it. Pour over?
Give me that. Yeah.
Pour over, it's like, it looks really cool, and I like the idea of it because it's always like the glass with the leather, and it just looks really cool.
It does look cool.
But I don't understand how I'm supposed to do it, and I've seen people do it, and they're very eloquent with it, and I'm just like, I'm just going to pour it into this glass thing and wait 4 minutes, and I'm going to drink the coffee.
Well, I go to French press as well because of the same thing. It's just efficiency.
And more. And you
can
can drink like 2 or 3 cups a day.
Delicious. I only drink 1 cup a day. I mean,
really?
Maybe this cup.
So impressive.
Once at a time.
That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good, man. That's good. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate it. Thank you, Josh. Thank you so much. And all his information is in the description. If you want to check him out and hit him up and see kind of what they're doing here. He's right. Like, you don't know what you don't know. And so if you don't experience other people's teaching styles and what they're doing, how are you going to know if you can be better? So
that's right.
That's great, man. Thank you guys. Y'all be good. Stay sweet. Never stop learning. I don't know what I'm supposed to say to end this. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back. Hey, it's Tyler here. I'm just going to give you a little break. So if you need to go do something, you need to go use the restroom, get a snack, get something to eat, whatever, you can go do that. I was going to chat with you about some stuff, give you some time to do that and check in, maybe say hi. If you want in the chat, let's do a little check-in. In the chat, how you feeling? Toss in your emoji of how you're feeling right now. Let's do a little emoji checkup, if you will. So while you're doing that, I do want to you know what? I spent a lot of time writing this book, and I genuinely think this book is going to help you in your classroom. It's gonna inspire you more than anything. It's a read with me, and one of the things that I feel like I've never been the smartest dude in the room. I've never been, the most talented, but I'll say this, I was always been pretty approachable, I think. I've been approachable, and I think what this is, I've tried to be as relatable as possible. I'm talking about my experiences, things I've run into in the classroom, what I've learned as a teacher and as an administrator and as a student, what I learned. And so this is the Baller Teacher Playbook. If you're interested in checking this out, I recommend. Of course, I recommend. It's my book. It's not the best book on education, but I think it's good enough to help you in some way. It's got a lot of practical experience in it. I've got quotes. That's a do you boo boo. I could have picked a better chapter. Here's one thing. I want to show you one thing that I did at the end of each chapter because I know teachers. Okay, I put in practical application. I put in reflection because we know reflection is important, even though we never have time to do it. But it's got spots for you to write that in. So this is something you can work on by yourself or with your team. But here's the part that I did, and this is legit just for teachers. I don't know if you can see that. I put in, at the end of each chapter, I have a section called TLDR. That's internet talk for too long, didn't read. So what that means is, let's say you've got a team meeting, okay? Because there's 18 chapters in here. That means you and your team, or you and your building, you can go through a chapter once a week. You meet on your planning period, spend 10 minutes talking about what you did, what you tried, what worked, what didn't work, stuff to help improve your class and improve your students. Every week you can do that. Have you ever done this? In the chat, be honest, you ready? Have you ever had a team meeting where you're supposed to read something and you're walking over to the meeting and you're like, oh no, I forgot to read the thing I'm supposed to read that we're gonna discuss for like 15 minutes. So you like just try to chill and like hopefully don't get called on or get called out for not reading it. At the end of each chapter, I have a section called TLDR where in like 2 to 5 bullet points, I summarize the chapter. So you could be walking to the meeting, you could read these 3 or 4 bullet points and be able to have a conversation about the entire chapter. There's stories in here, there's practical experience, there's ways that I messed up, ways that I failed, and then ways that I feel like I succeeded, and I'm just talking through what I learned from both of those. And I would love for you to learn and grow with me. So if you want to check out that book, it's on Amazon. I'll have a link on the screen if you want to get it. Link is in my bio. I link links everywhere to it. So Baller Teacher Playbook. I think it can help you in your classroom. Okay, we're about to get started. Kick back into it. Hopefully you're ready to roll, ready to go. And let's jump back in. Let's jump back in like Michael Phelps, okay? Well, does that work? Does that work? I mean, he jumps into the pool. That's what I was going for. I need to know more like high diver. High divers would have been better. I'll tell you this. We're gonna stick the landing like Carrie Strug. Y'all remember her? Carrie Strug, remember the Olympics? Georgia Olympics? Atlanta Olympics? Remember that? It's okay. It's a very narrow reference. All right, let's get started. Let's kick it off. Let's jump back in. Get your notes out. Get your screens pulled up. Get your coffee ready. Get your ice water. Your sweet tea. If you're from Arkansas like me, you know you like that sweet tea. And we're about to kick it off. Here we go. Let's get back in it. Let's get back in it. I'll see you guys. All right, thank you guys. I hope you got something out of that. I hope you maybe got an idea, or heard something, or maybe heard a concept of something you could do in your classroom. You might not have the freedom to change the entire schedule of your building, but you might have the freedom to adjust what you're doing in your class and just make it more fun or off the wall or something that builds the culture in your classroom. And this next session is with a friend that if you've been with any of these trainings over the summer, or you may be watching the trainings on our tarveracademy.com/honor roll, what's honor roll members, you know Lindsay Fell. She is a fantastic educator. This is an interview. This actually has never aired. We talked at a conference we went to, I guess it was a couple summers ago. She had an art classroom, and she's doing graphic design stuff now, but she was doing an elementary art classroom, and she was doing some really innovative stuff with those students and then some other students that she got to interact with. And she did some really cool stuff, some really innovative things within the classroom setting. Like, you might not be able to change the whole schedule at your high school or at your elementary, at your middle school, or at your entire district. But you know what you can do? You can change the innovation in your classroom. You can come up with ways to connect with your students and help empower them and help them grow. And I think Lindsay is one of the best that I've seen at doing that. And here's an interview we did together talking about some of the innovative things she's doing in her classroom. So hopefully you can get something and some ideas on how you can do some of these things in your classroom. So Lindsay Fell, take it away. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I am excited and honored to have my fellow Apple Distinguished Educator, Lindsay Fell, joining me for this episode of Education Academy. Lindsay, how are you doing today?
I'm fantastic, thank you. How are you?
I'm just doing super de-duperty. So it's doing, why did I not say that? Nobody says that. Oh my gosh. So starting off, where can people find you, and then tell them a little bit about yourself?
I teach at Parkway Elementary in the Bryant School District, and I'm an art teacher. I teach K-5. And what else did you ask? Sorry.
Where can they find you if they want to find you on social?
I'm on Twitter at Fell_Lindsay, and then I have a website and blog at iartwithlindsay.com.
That's awesome. Okay, so let's start there. So iartwithlindsay.com. And wait, first off, how do you spell Lindsay? Because this is a hated thing. This is like a there situation. Lindsay. How do you spell your Lindsay?
My Lindsay is spelled Lindsay, so it's like right. Lindsay, like Lindsay what?
Say what?
Say what?
That's good. Okay, so you are an art teacher for early education, correct? Yes. So what are some cool things that you're doing in that classroom that you think maybe could give some people some value?
So my number one priority as a visual arts teacher is to continue to give students valuable hands-on experiences with traditional mediums like clay and paint, and for them to have the opportunity to explore those mediums, because that's important. So when I consider using technology in my instruction to enhance it, because it does have a very powerful potential to bring a lot of new learning to my field, when I consider using it, there's two big questions that I ask myself before I incorporate it into a lesson. And that is, how is this device or this tool going to make what I want my students to learn more accessible? Or how is it going to give them a new platform for demonstrating their understanding? So I kind of let those two things be my guide when I go into involving the technology into a lesson or a unit.
So what it's doing is expanding.
Yes.
Both of those things where you're making
something possible that wasn't possible before.
Yeah.
So, for example, making learning more accessible. If we're talking about printmaking and I want to expose them to the history of printmaking, I can bring in Gutenberg's printing press, sit it down in the middle of our art classroom, and students can explore it virtually through augmented reality using their iPads. And that's something that we wouldn't be able to do because the Gutenberg Museum is in Germany, and I'm not going to be able to take my students there. But this lets
You never know. You could sign up for a grant.
Right.
If you could donate to the Education Academy, we're going to send all these kids to Germany.
Right, but how cool is it that we can just bring it and sit it down in the walls of our classroom, and they can have that experience? And I think that's really powerful. And or we can also, if a student is absent, a lot of our projects go on for several weeks at a time because they're pretty in depth, and good art takes time, right? So let's say a student missed the first day of the introduction of the project. So one way that I use my website is I pre-record my lessons, or record them while I'm teaching them, and then if they are absent or if they're behind, or if, not behind, but if their work is taking a little bit longer than the rest of the students, they can go back and re-watch that pre-recorded lesson. Or it really came in handy when I was teaching weaving to my third graders, because weaving, I'm sure you can imagine, is very intricate.
Tedious,
and everybody needs your help at the same time.
Yeah.
So
it's hard to individualize that when you got 20 kids.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But having it like a video of my hands showing them how the process works, they could pause, they could follow along, and then I could give more of my attention to those kids who might struggle more with fine motor, and so it opened up the possibility of me giving more one-on-one attention to students who really needed it, not just everybody.
And also with that, you're allowing those students that might have been too nervous or self-conscious to ask you for help.
Right.
They're like, I don't have to ask for help or ask her to repeat something. I just hit rewind and hit play and watch it again. Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool. So in 2011 was when I first got an iPad in my class. It was just me that had an iPad. So I was like presenting math from it, and it was really just a dry erase board that was, for me at the back of the class.
Yeah.
But one of the cool things I did for, like you said, for if kids miss, was I would screenshot the problems after. But it's so much better if you're actually recording it. So what do you record with? What does that process look like for you?
So I just have this little stand that stands on my art making table, and then it has like an arm. I can't remember the brand. I don't remember who makes it, but the iPad sits there, and I just hit record, and then I do my demonstration. But what's really cool is I can just take that over to a kid's desk, and they can do it too. So a lot of times they'll record themselves and then narrate over it in iMovie. Cool. And share it, and we'll share it on our gallery, or they'll send it to their parents.
So you don't put it on YouTube, you put it in like a classroom gallery?
Yeah, we've been putting them on Instagram. I need to put them on YouTube.
Instagram. So are you doing IGTV, or is that a minute or less?
It's a minute or less right now.
Well, that's good. It's more searchable that way, so that's smart.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And it's really neat because, parents have been texting me or shooting me instant messages on Facebook saying, my kid is weaving. They're going back and watching the lessons from this year, and they wanted to,
Oh my goodness. So it's open group, people can
open.
go find it. Where is it on Instagram if anybody wanted to go find it?
It's at Miss Fell's Awesome Artists.
That's pretty cool. All one word?
All one word.
That's cool. Okay, well, sweet. Well, so what are some other ways that, because, like I said, we're both Apple Distinguished Educators, class of 2019, probably the best class ever is what they say. What are some other cool things you're doing with art? And are there any other specific things you're doing in the class, like a project you've done that you've been excited about using that type of technology?
Yeah, so the self-portraits, teaching young children about the proportions of a face and kind of finding that line of symmetry and where things are placed on a face to sort of bring the realism aspect to a portrait. The iPads make that really easy because you can take a picture and then insert that into Keynote and then draw on top of it with a pencil. So they can they can sort of make that face map and sort of see those proportions that way, and then erase the image and then go to paper. And so you're offering that comfortable, safe way for them to sort of enter into that creative process that's a little bit less stressful and something they're a lot more comfortable and at ease with.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, you'd think they'd be comfortable drawing their face as many selfies as these kids take, but they're younger. What grade is it mostly?
It's K5.
K5, so I guess they're not taking too many selfies. Well, my daughter, she started early.
For this, they are taking selfies. You know, it's kind of fun because they get to pose and take a selfie, and then they use their selfie to find, you know, these art. What word am I looking for? Please cut this.
These art selfies, alfies, art alfies. Is that what you're saying? No, it's cool because it's like you're linking
the principles, so that they can use it to find these concepts that I'm trying to teach them, and hopefully it's less boring. Than,
and I'm sure you said earlier you mix that with like the traditional way of like you're using your hands, so you're getting both of these avenues. And so it's like, why not? Like I know that like we've done some we interviewed some librarians one time, and we had a person come in for the interview. And we asked them, like, hey, we love for our kids, or we didn't say we love it. We just said, hey, how do you feel about the kids working on computers? And she just said, you know what? The library is a place where we turn technology off and we are just free of it, and we can just, I go, that is one way to look at it. However, how is it that most of us consume information now? We will listen to it through a podcast. We will watch it through a YouTube video. We'll read it off of like a blog or somebody that maybe didn't publish a book, or even if we do buy like a published book, we'll buy it on Kindle, which is an app on our phones, we'll do all that. And so we were just thinking, like, why are you not merging these two worlds? Because these kids, you're making them, they're not gonna have like a room in their house that has thousands of books they can walk in and, what am I gonna read today? No, teach them how to find those great things that are gonna interest and spark their learning, and then also use physical books. And so I love how you're doing both. Do you see do you see kids that like say you're on one, you're doing like stuff with your hands more often, but then say maybe you're using technology more? Do you see them excited to shift back and forth, or is there one over the other that they just prefer, or what?
Yeah, I think they do a really great job of shifting back and forth, but I think that's also what they've grown up with. It's just part of their natural world, We'll do a lot of work with radial symmetry, and so we'll go into like using the iPad as a lens through which they can view the world, and sort of using like a kaleidoscope app, and then we'll take those images that they've created and print them out, and then physically cut them up to construct like a three-dimensional object in a physical object, or we might even take those to inspire like a sculpture that we build on the floor.
Cool.
So it's just kind of a workflow between both the digital and the traditional.
That's awesome. That's cool. I love it. I love merging those two worlds. I don't think you should have to pick one or the other. So what is your favorite project, besides the one we've already talked about? What is your favorite project you did this past year with your students? It was most fun for you as the teacher.
Most fun project. I don't know, my kids, I have a lot of fun when I see my kids having a lot of fun.
That's a good teacher. That's a good teacher, ladies and gentlemen. That's an Apple Distinguished Teacher right there, ladies and gentlemen.
My third graders, they did a project with, we were a brand new school. So our mascot is the Lions, and my first priority in entering this school was to sort of use art to build community in our school. So we did a project where they made these big lions, and they took the lions and they animated them with video, so they would like take a photo, and then they used an app called Chatterpix no, we didn't use Chatterpix. What did we use?
No, Chatterpix is terrible. I hate it.
No, Chatterpix is fantastic.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. It's so good.
It's not what we used. We used Funny Movie Maker. That's what it was.
Fun Movie Maker?
Funny Movie Maker. And what it does is it takes an image, and then you can insert your mouth into like whatever you take a picture of, like an orange or a lemon or...
Yeah, or an orange, like Angry Orange.
Or a lion, like we did.
Or a lion.
So they took a picture of their artwork, and then they inserted their mouth into this lion and made a video of themselves explaining why they're proud to be Parkway Lions, or what they love about being a Parkway Lion. And so what we did with those videos is we linked them to the two-dimensional artwork with augmented reality. And then we had a big community open house, and so we had this whole wall of these lions, and then you can walk with iPads. We had student helpers out with iPads, and as people flooded our hallways, the kids would show them, they would hold up the iPad, and then the line would start talking and explaining their school pride. So that was really exciting for the kids, and I think it built school community.
Yeah.
And then it was a really great opportunity to show the community what the devices could do and what the kids could do when you merge the two worlds of traditional and digital art too.
That's really cool. That sounds like an awesome project. That's touche. You're a way better art teacher than I would be. I'd be like, hey, draw this pair. I'm kidding. I would do more than that. I would listen to you and this podcast, and that's what I would do. So do you have anything else you'd like to mention before we close it down for this podcast? Any other cool things that we didn't get to talk about?
The only other thing is probably video creation. My kids, towards the end of the year, they started vlogging sort of their art processes.
Yeah, let's go.
And I think they like that because they feel like they're YouTubers.
Yeah.
And that's what 90% of them want to be when they grow up as
they
YouTubers.
Dope.
So that, and then my little kindergartners, they were using Clips. And Clips is super easy to use, and it made video creation accessible for like even my youngest kids. And so they started a series of clay basics as they were learning about clay. So they would kind of start off with what is a coil, what is a slab, and then they made an instructional video on how to make a pinch pot. So video creation has opened up a lot of doors, and it's really great for formative assessments, just assessing what your students know in sort of a non-traditional way. And you'll get a lot more of that academic language because they're not having to write it. You know, they'll speak it to you orally.
And they're learning a skill in the process of how to make videos,
yes,
which
the video
no matter,
creation itself,
even if they don't use art, and they're like, you know, we can all use art in our everyday life, but if they don't do something specific to art, they're learning a skill in the process of your class that they can take
that'll
to
translate
anything.
to any content area.
So if they want to do like a regular vlog or a gaming channel or something else, they're getting practice in your actual class. I love that.
You know, it's really cool. One of my news team students can also run like a little student-led broadcast journalism team. She started her own YouTube channel documenting her journey living a gluten-free life.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's awesome. How old is this kid?
She'll be in 5th grade next year.
5th grade. She's living a gluten-free life. On that gluten-free life.
On that
That's
gluten-free
awesome.
life.
Where, do you know, how
you can
I
catch
find
Bethany,
Bethany
vlogging about, what is the name of her channel? I need to go find it, but I think it might be Cooking with Bethany. She's really
I can
cute.
find it. I'll put the link in the
She's
description.
adorable.
She's great.
She dresses up in her kitchen and cooks gluten-free.
And she's in 5th grade.
Cookies and pancakes. Yeah, you can cook with her on Saturday mornings, I'm sure.
That's really cool. She's cooking like James Harden.
Yeah.
Basketball player. That's fine.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, he's great. He's got a nice beard. Hey guys, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much
you
for
for
taking
having
the
me.
time and doing this on your lunch break. I really appreciate it. And thank you guys so much. If you could, please check out Lindsay. Tell them again where they can find you.
At iartwithlindsay.com.
Go check it out. Give her some comments. Say you came from here so she doesn't feel like she wasted her time hanging out with me. Thank you so much, Lindsay. You're awesome. You guys are awesome. Do the things that people on the internet do. Stars, subscribes. I don't know how the internet works. You can just do that. That'd be super duper. And never stop learning out there, guys. Peace. Hey, what up, guys? Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you got something out of that. We're going to try to change gears a little bit. This innovation thing, I'm doing it different. It's not one seamless flow. It's pieces of different people's thoughts and perspectives. This next session, it is a portion from a show I did with my friend Benjamin Kolb. He is an educator out of Colorado. Fantastic dude. He's a director. He makes a ton of creative stuff, and he gets education in a big way and gets to talk to a lot of big-time educators and hear their thoughts. We had a show called Recap the Chat. And in this, the idea was we would take like a Twitter thread from these Apple EDU chats where it's like people are talking on Twitter and giving their ideas, and we'd grab some of these questions, and then we would throw in, we'd pick out some people who made some answers we really liked. We discuss their ideas, we discuss our ideas based on that, and I just think it's a really cool way to promote creativity, be authentic, to be all of the things that we always want to be as educators, to, you know, promote and empower our students and help guide them as they, you know, take on their journey of, you know, not just learning what we're teaching, but learning how to process that and then show that to other people or teach that to other people. I think that's just another level of understanding. And that's like the highest level of understanding, right? How much more did you learn whenever you started teaching a subject versus when you were just a student in that class? We learned so much more because not only do you have to know it for yourself, you have to know it, process it, deliver it, and then answer pieces of questions and trouble that other people have with it. So that's the idea here. And it's kind of fast paced. I hope you like it. I hope you get a lot out of it. But here's the idea. We're going to hit you with some questions. I would love in the chat or in your notes, you would answer these questions for yourself, or you would write down some really good stuff that you hear from us or from other educators. And so it's kind of fast paced. So try to stay with us and throw in some ideas and just keep moving forward, keep learning, keep growing. Benjamin, take it away now.
What's good? What's good? What's good? Welcome to Recap That Chat. I am Ben Kolb.
My name's Tyler Tarver, and we are so excited you are here. Why are we doing this, Ben?
Yeah, so we know that every week on Twitter, amazingness happens in the hashtag AppleEDU chat, but that catching up to that sometimes takes like 10 minutes just to scrolling to find the chat, and it's like drinking from a fire hose. So we thought each week we're gonna bring you our favorite from the chat.
That's exactly correct. And this chat that we're talking about today is on promoting creativity with authentic assessments. Ooh, I like creativity. I like authenticity. Authenticity. That's the right one.
There it is. Nailed it.
Nailed it. Is a charm. All right. So
absolutely.
The people that hosted this were phenomenal. Ben, tell us a little bit about them while I look them up straight here from notes.
Yes, definitely. So yeah, that's another cool thing. We're gonna model Apple tools as we do this. So today I am rocking Keynote using an Apple Pencil. Just love it. I think you're gonna see some really neat stuff that you cannot do in Google Slides. Tyler, which are you using?
I'm gonna go with Notes. I'm using the good old-fashioned Notes app. It's convenient, but also super powerful. Like I just looked up Liz, one of the people that hosted this, straight from it. But you know, it's whatever. Yeah. Notes is just dope, man. I'm just letting you know. It's really cool.
I love that it syncs between your iPad, your iPhone, your Mac as well. Super amazing tool as well. And I love Keynote as well. So we're talking all about how authentic assessments can really get our students to be better critical thinkers and more creative as well. So Tyler, question number one, as we look into this, was authentic assessments are powerful, we know that, but how do you define an authentic assessment? To you, how do you know something is an authentic assessment?
Well, I feel like whenever it resonates with students where they are, whenever you're doing something that they can find is relevant, but also it engages them, and not because like, oh, it's flashy, but because it means something to them. So when it's authentic and they can give authentic answers and authentic application, I think that goes a long way with students. How about you, man?
When I think authentic assessment, I think it needs to be a task that a student actually would have to do in career or beyond just like K to 12 classroom. So I think, I haven't written a 5-paragraph essay since I graduated high school. So that's a perfect example of something that is not an authentic assessment. You never have to do that in an actual job.
Yep.
I think, so having kids do blog posts, having them do videos, having them convince someone, all of those, because they are things you have to do in real work and in college and beyond. That's what I think of, a task that you need to do outside of school.
Yeah, I mean, how many times do our bosses come into our office and say, hey, you have exactly 45 minutes to complete this task. If you don't, then you're gonna fail this job and you can't call or use any resources. Happens all the time, right?
Never, which is very good. So let's, so each of us then picks our favorite answer for the week, and it's a total science. Mm-hmm. Right? There's definitely no judgment in their favorites or anything like that.
No,
so Tyler,
playing faves.
Who'd you pick, man? Who did you pick for your favorite answer for question one?
I used @Miss T. Leon. I used her because she also curated the chat, but what she said was awesome. She said, authentic assessments engage learners through creativity. They are relevant, high interest, and designed with students and not just for students. The students are a part of that, and I love that she said that.
Yeah, anytime you can have students like designing with it, that's probably a really good example of it being authentic for sure.
Owners versus renters. They own it.
Yeah, I like that for
sure. What about you? What do you got?
And I obviously have the correct one. I went, I skipped ahead there. Let's go back. So I went with Emily Lynch Deegan, who said that the big characteristic is that it's real, and it has to give students an opportunity to show their ability and to apply skills they've learned in real situations. So that's kind of what I was saying. Just the idea of like not just a multiple guess test. It has to be something you need in life outside of school.
That's so good. That's so good. Excellent. Okay, question two. Question two says, what are the benefits of authentic assessment? Consider the benefits from both the student and teacher perspective. So, Ben, my question to you first. Kick us off. What are the benefits of authentic assessment?
So many benefits. We're going to see that in the answers. We saw a lot of common themes come through. For me, being a classroom teacher for 7 years out in Illinois, the biggest benefit is anytime one of my former students hits me up on LinkedIn, hits me up on Twitter, Facebook, whatever, and says, hey, Mr. Kolb, remember that one time you had us do this persuasive speech to the class it reminded me a lot what I had to do today in my job. And so it's like that building of a skill that actually helps the kids succeed outside of the walls of your classroom. And without a doubt, that is the biggest benefit for me when I was a teacher. How about you, Mr. Tarver? What you thinking?
You know what? Mine is honestly, it's a very similar answer, but I want to give a different example. When I was a principal, I got the chance to teach a couple of the classes as well. And whenever it was time for them to show their learning, their evaluation, yes, they could do a quiz or a test, but I also gave them the option of creating a presentation. They could do a video, do a podcast audio. And I had a young man that really loved doing video, and he wanted to learn more about it. So he did that for all of his, built up an actual video career, and became the guy in college who filmed his school at football games. And so he actually built like a side hustle off of that. And I think doing, just like you said, both of those learnings at the same time was beneficial in two ways instead of just one. So who'd you pick out for your answer on this one?
Well, you know, I always pick the best, and I just went with like my hometown, right? Coming to you from Colorado. So in my district, one of my friends hopped in here, and Nate Wilcox said that the biggest benefit to him is that it's fresh and every day is new and never boring. I think that's another part. Like, we get super bored grading paragraph essays all the time. And so the fact is that it's always new. And since kids like it, like, classroom management's cake, because like, when was the last time a kid was making a video or a podcast or a song and you had to be like, hey, stop talking to your friend? Like, they enjoy it. So I think there's really no downside as a teacher to doing them. Who'd you pick?
Absolutely. You know what? I went hometown as well. This is Jessica Herring-Watson. Jessica is phenomenal. She actually teaches in the same town as me. So holla at Jessica. Jessica, you're incredible. Jessica said, for teachers, grading is so much more fun because every product looks a little different. For students, it encourages ownership of the process and product of learning. Man, I think she's right on par with us. I think we all of us, let's just start a school together. What do you think? I think it's just the best thing. You two people from Colorado, two people from Arkansas, let's take over the world. I think we've all got it figured out.
You're a math guy on my screen. I just love that you can annotate on top of slides as you're in presenter mode. I just did Colorado and the greater than sign, Arkansas.
Oh, wow.
I hope I spelled it right, because we're live.
Ben, we like to keep this show honest and authentic, so let's try not to lie to people. Arkansas is a natural state. What's Colorado? The artificial state? I can't even remember.
I don't know. Next question in Recap the Chat. We're looking here. How can students design authentic assessments for a global community? How can students share and showcase their work for authentic audiences? What do you think there, Tyler?
Man, Ben, I thank you for asking. I've been wanting to tell you this for years. So I love this because the internet has connected us. And not only is it a way for us to create and show people what we're doing and what we're learning and building in the classroom, but it also gives us a chance to see what they're doing. And then we can have not only empathy, but we can, like, you're traveling to a different place essentially because you're learning with other students in other countries. And I think that's incredible. And I love that the internet connects us. And I think we can create it, you know, in a ton of different arenas. You could do podcasts, you could do YouTube, you could do Twitter, like we're doing Twitter. We're doing a combination of Twitter and YouTube right now. It's incredible. Look at us.
It's nuts, man.
Who would have thought? Not me. How about you, Ben? What do you think?
Yeah, I completely agree. The power of the internet. There's, like, the world is flat now, for sure. And I think one of the biggest things to me is that you don't have to wait as a kid anymore to matter. And just like the fact that, like, Spotify was developed by a high schooler, like, if we're in this arena now where it's all about your ideas and about just, like, putting content out there, and we don't have to, like, tell kids anymore, when you grow up you can do this. It's like, no, you can do something right now that gets traction and that makes a difference in the world. So that's what I think, that when students are making for a global audience, they don't have to wait to matter when they grow up.
That's incredible.
Who'd you pick?
I went with Katie Conway, Miss Conway ICS. Check her out on Twitter. She said, one way my students create for an authentic audience is when they write an argumentative essay about their favorite restaurant. We format the essay into a letter and send it to the restaurant. We often get responses and the kids love it. They are connecting with real people and real businesses, and they're showing that what they're doing isn't just like in their classroom. It's connecting with an outside audience. I love that.
Yeah, man, I love that one as well.
How about you? What do you got?
Well, I picked another hometown girl here, just like an hour south of me. We have Katie Manzanares, incredible educator. You got to go follow her at Miss Tech Goddess on Twitter. She had this really cool point that I liked, which is this whole idea of exhibition nights. So there are a lot of that. I think some of those schools in California, I don't remember the name right now, and this red light's recording and blinking making me nervous. But there's those like those PBL schools and stuff like that really tout the power of an exhibition night where you are showing off to the whole community. You invite stakeholders from all over to come in and see what you're learning. So I loved that idea of having an exhibition night. And Katie, I only live an hour away, and you didn't invite me to your exhibition night, so that better happen next time for sure. Next question, in recap the chat, what tools and skills do your students use when they're creating their authentic assessments? Tools and skills. We got a two-part question here, Tyler. Choose either of them.
Okay, I love it. I'm gonna go with, the skills and tools because they're combined because you need skills to use the tools. So my students love making video. So whenever I give them the opportunity to do that, that's kind of their medium that they're really into because they're already on it. They're on Snapchat, they're on Instagram. So I ask them to incorporate that in that world into their assignment. So anytime I'm like, hey, create an Instagram account of what it would look like for this person if they were living today. Or create a Snapchat, like essentially connection and a news story from what you're doing. I want them to create in the world they're already in, the world they have the screen time minutes in already. I want them to create with that. So video, and then they edit in Final Cut Pro, and they make some really cool products. Some of it's not very good, but it gets better every time they do it. How about you, Ben?
Just like this show, episode 2. And this is this is the floor. We're getting better every single time.
Every time.
When I thought of this, and really this is another reason why you need to dive into giving your students authentic assessments, is that the biggest skills that all those assessments draw on are those 4 C's, or the 7 21st century skills that Tony Wagner talks about, the survival skills, that you are communicating, you're collaborating, you're critically thinking, you are working in teams. And so I think that is the biggest thing, that these all draw on the 4 C's, or those 21st century survival skills. Tyler, I'm going to go first just because I feel like you've been hogging it and sharing your folks first. So I'm going to go first.
Okay.
And I had to share 2 of this gal's tweets because she just absolutely crushed it. And I think her answer for number 2 was one of my favorite ones as well. So this is Bethany Nugent, at Bethany_Nugent on Twitter. Give her a follow. The tweet that I loved and I retweeted the second I saw it was called 101 Ways for Students to Show What They Know. And it just has a list of collage, drawing, podcast, book, editorial, letter, essay, all that stuff. So all of those are great examples of a way that you can give an authentic assessment. And then she talked a lot about kind of what I said, just the idea of the skills that it builds on is a lot like Bloom's taxonomy, that it's when you're doing an authentic assessment, it's a lot of the top part of that pyramid. Tyler, who'd you choose?
So good, so good. I went with Rachel Mickle. Is that? Do you think that's correct? Did I say that right, you think? Blink twice if it's right. Excellent, thank you. Okay, she said, I'm going to go with the 4 C's here. Just like you said, they use tools. Did you steal that? You stole it from my person. That's fine, man. It's okay, it's fine. They use tools to demonstrate creativity, collaboration, communication, and critical thinking. Anything from iWork tools to crayons and glue. My favorite's Keynote. You know what? I love Keynote too. I was actually making a presentation in Keynote today. Yeah, it happened. It's a real thing.
Get you some of that.
I actually just made a video. I recently made a video on the 4 C's where I talk about it. So if you want, check that out. Ben will just tweet Ben. He'll tell you where it is. Okay, I'm going to shoot you the next question. It says, question 5, how do teachers design authentic assessments in a way that will prepare students for future opportunities? Ooh, that's a good one. Ben, what you got, man?
Yeah, so I think this is where it's super important that as teachers we're really have friends outside of our own realm, so I know my brother's a doctor. That's a brag. I mean, you were a principal, but my brother's a doctor, so.
Oh wow,
that's probably
that hurts.
Better, right?
I mean, I'm working on being a doctor. I'm a specialist. Does that count?
No, not at all. So, I'm wearing Beats by Dr. Dre, so that's close as well.
I'm wearing Airbuds by Tim Cook, so it's whatever.
Oof, wow. Okay, so you're better than that for sure. So yeah, I think I have friends outside of school who are in advertising or in other things, and it's just being curious and asking them hey, what does an actual day look like for you? You run a nonprofit or you do development for a big organization, and just being really curious about what are the things that you do on a daily basis and need to do really well, and then trying to backwards plan your class to meet those skills. And maybe, I know that to be in charge of marketing, you have to convince a boardroom of this. How can I make my students in this next unit convince a boardroom of something? So I think it's that being curious, figuring out what other realms need to be successful, backwards planning your content to fit that. How about you, Tyler? What do you think?
Yeah, I think you do it in a way that's going to add 2 skills instead of just 1. If everything they do is just reporting or taking a test on it, all they're really doing is, learning how to do multiple choice tests or create an essay on it. But if you allow them to create, collaborate, work together, use critical thinking skills, work through problems in the process, they're adding layers of skills that they can present in any situation. So if they go out and they want to be a welder, cool, I'm gonna go out, I've got all the school I need to be a welder, but then if I go in and I say, also, I can weld and I know how to create video, I can make a commercial for you that I can put on social media and promote your business, and I can weld. You're adding a skill set that's valuable in almost any arena, but also adding that to what you wanna do and what you're passionate about. Okay, so you go ahead, Ben, who did you pick out? What answer do you got for this from the Twitter?
Yes, at Langston, EdTech, Chuck Langston. Big follow, definitely give him a follow on Twitter, he's amazing. But here he said, this is where as teachers we need to focus on research, what opportunities will be available for our students, and how does doing well on a multiple choice test reflect that reality. So the world's changing faster than any time in human history. It's exponential change. We know that, like, we just in Colorado had a Budweiser truck go from Fort Collins 2 hours south to Denver with no driver. We're building Amazon stores that have no cashiers. The world is changing faster than ever. We as teachers need to research, like, what are those future careers? What are the skills that students need to crush it in that career? And then how can we assess those skills using our content?
That's good. That's good. I went with Jason Trumbull, at Prof. Trumbull. Check him out. That's probably short for professor, don't you think? I think so. He looks like a professor.
It could be.
He said,
or professional.
He's a professional Trumbull. Oh, that's awesome. Congratulations. He's also a doctor, like my brother. Just kidding. He's my brother. My brother's not a doctor.
No, he's not.
No, definitely. Teachers consider both soft and hard skills and incorporate them into the expectations we teach and assess. I love that. I love that he's talking about different levels of skills. Jason and I, we're cut from the same cloth. Look at this. We had pretty much the same answer, both correct. The right answer. That's incredible.
Absolutely.
So good. So good. Okay, I'll hit you with the next question. You ready? Question 6.
I am.
Coming to you, Ben, says, what artifacts, data, or tools do you use from authentic assessments to drive learning in your schools?
Do you say data or data?
I say data. I say data when I want to be pretentious. Is this the situation where I should be pretentious?
Yeah, I think so.
Excuse me, Ben, what artifacts and data or tools do you use?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that we can collect from this is kind of using authentic assessments as formative assessments for changing up our instruction. I think a lot of times with a multiple choice test, you didn't always understand why a student got a certain answer wrong. You just understood that, like, hey, the answer was B and they should have said C. So I think, like, in a video, when a student makes it, or a podcast, you really actually understand their thinking at a much deeper level, and you can actually use that formatively to be like, oh, my kid kind of understood this thing but didn't 100% understand that thing. So that's the data that I always took from it, was like, how deeply did my student really get a concept? How about you, Tyler?
That's excellent. So what I started doing was, and I'm going to try to stay in the realm of what I was talking about, where the students are creating it and putting it out on social media.
Yeah.
What they would do is we look at the analytics of the videos they're making. So when they put it out there, after a day or so, you can see how long they're engaging people in their video, and then also the communication that happens underneath it. And so we'll look at data tools based on, like, what's retaining visitors to your video? Is it the length of the video? Is it the style? Is it how you started? And helping them not only to learn to make video and to learn the content, but also to keep the attention of the people in their video. Like, hopefully we've kept the people that are still watching this, which I'm assuming we did, or else they literally can't hear us talking. So what question did you, or what person did you choose as?
Yeah, I went with Miss Megan Randolph on this one. She talked about how important it is to carry forward that feedback with authentic assessment. So just the feedback that this gives teachers, kind of along the lines of what I was saying, just like that. You can use it as formative assessment. Everything is feedback, and feedback is not a bad thing.
No, feedback. The more you communication in any role is always good. The more communication, the better. That's excellent. That's excellent. Okay, I went with Lori Wetzel. She said, my students are currently working on the Sphero Lift Challenge, promoting refinement and video to support both have been fantastic. Of course it has, because you're a great teacher and you do great things in your classroom. That's right, Lori.
That's a super
Shout
cool
out,
idea.
Lori.
She links to that on her website as well. Really cool. I'm more of an Uber guy, but what a cool authentic assessment to have kids program a Sphero as if it was a Lyft car. We know that actually Lyft and Uber are both trying to go driverless, and so that actually is something that probably will happen sooner than we think. Tyler, can I give one more shout out before we wrap this thing up?
Yes, only if I can do the same.
No,
only
you
if I
can't.
can shout out Mia after you get done. Go ahead.
All right, you can. So there is a person that everyone should go follow on Twitter right now, at Miss Peak Teaches, Caroline Peak. And this is so cool because I just did like a little Twitter like clicking and clicking. She is actually pre-service teacher, so she's not even yet a teacher. She dove in and learned with us all, and this is her line. She said, we want our students to go from learning to living. And I can't really think of a clearer way to sum up this whole topic of authentic assessments than that. We want our kids to go from learning in our class to living successful lives. Authentic assessments and using Apple tools are an incredible, incredible way to do that.
That's awesome. Wow, touche to her.
Yeah.
I don't think I was ever
No.
on it like that. That's incredible. She's not even in the classroom yet. She's killing the game.
I know,
That's
it's
incredible.
crushing it.
I'd also like to give a shout out to Mia Morrison. Mia is out there handling business with the Apple EDU chats, and I just think she deserves a follow. You probably follow her already, but if you don't, please check her out. She's doing a great job, and she tweeted about what we're going to do next week on Recap the Chat, starring Ben and Tyler. She said we're talking about responding to the resistant learner. So if you could stay with us, mark whatever you need to mark. Check us out on Twitter. Ben, give me your Twitter handle.
Yes, at Mr. Kolb.
Show us on your screen. Show me your Twitter on your iPad. Can you do that?
I mean, that's all the way back on slide 1, but yeah, I got you, fam.
It's fine. Can you go to Twitter? Does your iPad go to Twitter?
Hey Siri, of course my iPad goes to Twitter, man. Of course it goes to Twitter. Hey, thank you so much. If you think we should keep doing this, let us know.
Yeah, man. Yeah, everybody out there, thank you so much for watching this long. If you did, you're pretty much a best friend of the show. And
You are, friend of the show. We're sending you
Ben's
stickers.
All you guys $20. I
Yep.
have stickers. I have stickers.
Cool.
Tarver Academy. Hit me up. I'll send them to you.
All right, much love. Thanks,
All right.
y'all.
Thank you, guys. Y'all be good. What up? Welcome back. Hey, Tyler here. How are you doing? How are you feeling? In the chat, let's do emoji check. And how are you feeling right now? Have you learned? Oh, no. To this point, what is something that you are going to try in your classroom or implement that you might not have wanted to, an hour or two ago? What is something you're wanting to implement in your classroom? Put that in the chat right now. I'd love to see it. I know the other people in the chat would love to see it. I know it'd be some great input. So throw that in the chat and then you can also copy paste and put in your notes, just so you don't forget. Make sure everything you're doing, you're keeping notes of. Keep links to it, all of it, because I want you guys to be able to access and actually make your classroom better. I've sat through enough PDs in my life, professional development in my life, that I don't remember one thing from. I pray that you walk through this. I am hoping that you get something out of this training that you can take and use, once a day, once a week, once a year, once a decade, something that you use and implement, whether it's a mindset or a skill set or just any type of framework to build your classroom and make things better. Okay? Speaking of making things better, making ourselves better, I do want to give you, some thoughts on something that I offer, a community that we have at Tarver Academy that I think could add you a ton of value. It could help you get better all year. Because right now we're getting better with PD, with professional development. Hopefully you're getting better right now. This summer you're gonna hopefully glean some information, some knowledge, some experience, and you're gonna get a little bit better. I want us to get better all year. I want us to get better all throughout the year. And here's the thing with teachers. We do not have time to go sit through a 6-hour professional development once a week. So what I did was I created a community called Tarver Academy. And it was based on teachers telling me they wanted resources. They wanted a continuation of these trainings, of templates, of resources. They want it to be handed to them, because if you go out and search for it, you're gonna find random stuff. They want stuff that could be applied to their classroom, that they can sit there, bite-sized professional development for busy teachers. That's Tarver Academy on a roll, and I would love for you to join if you want to. If you don't have to, don't pay for it. It's not very expensive at all, but I don't want you to have to pay for it. I would rather you use your district's professional development money. So if you want, have them go in, order that for you. What happens if you sign up for the Tarver Academy on a roll? What it's gonna do is it's gonna add you value. Do you wanna get better as a teacher every week, but not have to go out and search for it? How about if we just hand it to you in an email? In the email, every week, you're gonna get either a template, a resource, you're gonna get a short PD video, professional development, a training to show you how to do something you might not know how to do, or reinforce something you're maybe already trying. You're gonna get something that makes you better every week, plus some quick tips, links to some other things, and also you can ask me questions. I have a mailbag where you get to ask questions, and that's the list I'm gonna pick from first. I wanna help you guys. If I don't know how to do it, I'll do the research for you. I'll build, you're like, oh, I really wish I had a digital interactive notebook. Guess what I'll do? I'll go in and I'll build digital interactive notebooks, and I'll give you the template. You don't have to pay teachers. You don't have to go in and throw the money at anything. I wanna just hand it to you, and I wanna do trainings for you to help you. So if you wanna join that community, I think it's super helpful, and it's essentially where I become the tech facilitator for you. It's Netflix for teacher resources, and I would love for you to join and jump on that. So if you want, go there. It's tarveracademy.com/on-a-roll, and you can sign up for that. And I think it's just going to be a huge. It's going to be a huge help to teachers throughout the year who have a lot going on and not a lot of time, extra time to go out and do it. It's like as teachers, they always give you more stuff to do, but they don't give you like, oh, here's like an extra 3 hours a day to go out and do whatever it is you're going to do. So if you want to sign up for that, you can. I hope you've used this time also to use the restroom. So if you're just getting back using the restroom, guess what? We've just been talking about Tarver Academy on a roll. No big deal. But I want to give you guys time to go do that and get a snack if you need it. Whatever you need to do, we're about to kick back into it. We're about to jump back in it. We're going to fall into the gap. Man, do y'all remember that? That was a good campaign. That was memorable. Wasn't it? Memorable? Yeah, sure. Okay, so we're about to get started. We'll get started here very soon, and we're gonna jump back in. We're gonna keep learning. All right, let's do it. Let's go. We're still doing this. In the chat, here we go. In the chat, I want you to tell me the name. Okay, don't say that. I was gonna say, tell me the name of, you know what? You can do that. Tell me the name of a teacher who made an impact on you and what they did. Why did they have an impact on you? In the chat, what name of a teacher or an educator that had an impact on you and what they did to have an impact. It was either the way they treated you, the way they ran their class, or the way they inspired you, or just the way they had structure maybe. They were reliable, they were consistent. I would love to hear in the chat, name of a teacher that motivated you as a student or as another teacher and what they did. So let's throw that in the chat, and we're about to get started. We're gonna jump back into it. We're about to get started. We're gonna jump back into it like a pogo stick. See that? See what I did there? Nope? Okay, all right, let's get going. All right, I hope that was good. I hope you got some stuff out of that. I hope you wrote in and contributed some stuff that you've got experience with, or your thoughts or your experiences on that. This next session, this is an interview I did with a couple of middle school teachers out of Cotter School District. And I'm just super pumped that you guys get the chance to hear some of this conversation. They're doing some really cool stuff in their classrooms. This is Jenna and Brandon, and they're doing some things that I think are pretty fun and engaging for young people. And I think you could adapt it up or down, or if you're middle school, this is perfect. This is the age group you're looking for. And so here's some of the things, their thoughts on what they're doing, their experiences, how they kind of rolled it out. And so hope you enjoy this and get something from it. Maybe spark some ideas, whether it's the exact same or it's a little bit different. I hope it adds you value. So Jenna, Brandon, and Tyler, here we go. My name's Tyler, and I have two phenomenal teachers from Cotter School District, and we are going to be chatting about some literacy stuff and history stuff for the middle school age students. So let's go. And now we're going to wait for 45 minutes and we'll start. I'm kidding. I'm joking. I'm just being silly. But I guess first thing, could you guys kind of tell them who you are and what you teach and what you do?
Mm-hmm. I'm Jenna Adams. I teach 5th grade literacy. I have about 60 kids, 3 blocks of throughout the day, so 90 minutes. So we got a little bit of time to really dig into some cool stuff.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I'm Bradley Edmondson. I have 6th graders. I do history and science, and I have about the same time frame of a 90-minute class period.
That's awesome. Which one do you like better, history or science?
When I started, definitely the history, but the more I did, this is only my 2nd year, but the more I've kind of done the science, it's gotten so close now.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, so neck and neck. I like it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It started with history. It was the clear winner, but now it's so close.
It's anybody's game at this point. I love it.
I'm all literacy, baby.
All literacy. I like it. All literacy, baby. I ain't playing no games. How many years did you say? How many years you've been
This
teaching?
is my 8th year.
8th year. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you guys always been here at this district?
I taught 2 years in a much larger district. So this is a big opportunity. Once I shifted here, I just had more freedom. I had less kids to really try some new stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Focus and reach out there. I love it. Jenna, I was going to start with you if you don't mind. So we're going to talk about some literacy stuff that you do in the classroom. You do some really cool stuff with regards to students, not only like utilizing literacy, but utilizing other skill sets to show off what they've read or what they've understood. You want to kind of talk about something?
Absolutely. I have a huge problem with just the want to read. And so I was trying to think of different ways to just make them love reading again and it not be a chore because it's a life skill.
Yeah.
So I kind of took away some of the computerized testing, and I got the freedom to just kind of reevaluate how they're going to make progress with their reading. So they're in charge of making their own goals. They decide what they're going to read, how long they're going to read it, who they're going to read it with, if they're going to tie it to a movie, if they're going to just read different types of media. And if they realize that that they're on track, they made good decisions with what they're choosing to read, then as an incentive, it's called Checkpoint Day. Halfway through each quarter, we make book trailers
That's cool.
to kind of share with the district and kind of just build that culture for reading within our whole elementary. So,
And they're learning how to make videos in the process. That's something you could take to any job, anywhere.
absolutely. They're most comfortable with iMovie. They're easy to produce, easy to edit. So it takes about 2 class periods for them to kind of, they have the option to do it independently or to say, hey, I really love this book. I know you didn't read it, but you're really good at the techie stuff. So why don't you be my partner?
Oh, that's good.
So that even if they don't feel like they are good readers, they do it enough to be able to do the techie stuff.
Yeah.
So within that, rubric, all the teaching stuff. But once it's on a video day, then I let them go throughout the campus to just have that time with them and their partner to draw viewers into what they read, why they liked it, the themes, all those things that convinced me that they held on to what they read. And it gives them some ownership of, hey, you know what, this book was kind of cool. It wasn't as lame as I thought it would be.
Yeah.
So, which is that attitude at that middle age.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So after that, then they have a few minutes of the last class period to edit it. And then I help them convert it to a QR code, and I post it on my door, which is always open, so that anybody on campus with a device can scan the QR code and have a taste of that book.
That's cool. That's awesome. Can I ask you about, you said at the beginning, you said you let them set their own goals with regards to reading. I know with a lot of teachers, they don't feel comfortable allowing students to have that freedom in it because they're like, oh, the kid's going to say I want to read one book, or, I just want to, do a chapter a month. They feel like, I don't know, their mindset is that students are going to undershoot it. Do you just do you have parameters for that, or do you find that students, what are you seeing whenever you allow them that freedom?
Very few parameters, actually, but I would say I have the most in the first quarter until they get down what they're doing and what they're undertaking.
Yeah.
But as the year progresses, they realize that, I may have one book for 6 weeks, but what am I going to do with that book for 6 weeks? If they are, have a busy extracurricular lifestyle to where reading is a chore, as long as they're dipping into that book, daily and giving me those task cards and that, and convincing me that, hey, I've still got it, I'm still holding on to it, then I've at least held on to that student. They're not going to just make reading not a part of their life, because not everybody's going to love reading. Yeah. So I give them that freedom because I want them to take that ownership of this. I'm in charge of my learning. And once you give them that, most of the time, more times than not, the kids are going to continuously have greater goals as the year continues, because they set it, they met it, they got rewarded, not by a party or, something extrinsically, but they're like, I got it because I did it. Yeah. I set out to do it and I did it.
It's like they have more ownership because they pick those goals, they reach those goals,
and cool. With each quarter I give them more freedom. Hey, you did jump through all the hoops that you set for yourself. This quarter, you want to read with a partner, give it a shot. It may not work out. You may not get it to checkpoint this time, if you took on too much, but you at least learn that the next quarter you don't need to do that. Yeah. Or you like movies are my thing, I quote movies every other day. Yeah. Then you are going to read that book. Hey, that's 20 chapters. You've never read a book that big, but you like that movie? Sure. Read that book, set it out, finish the book, then you can watch the movie in my class at lunch every day until it's done. That's just awesome. Compare the two at the end. No problem here. That's cool. They're actually doing more work when they set out those types of goals. Yeah. But you let them be in charge of it. They don't realize that. Yeah. So kind of mind warping them a little bit. Yeah. In my own way.
That's good.
Yoda in the background, but it works for this age level perfectly.
Yeah. That's so cool. And it's almost like you're building like others. I mean, we talked about earlier, you're building other skill sets with the movies, but also you're giving them, they're reflecting on what they did, like their goals, their like skill sets, what they can handle if they work well with partners or by themselves. You're giving them like, they're getting some like self-reflection. Like they can see their skill sets. How does this work for me? Because I find that, you guys we're talking middle level, but as students get into high school and especially college where they don't have their parents, it's like a lot of people, we say it all the time, they don't know how to study. Yeah. Because they don't know where they're successful. They don't know if they read better or if they work with a partner or if they need to be, more focused or
most
what.
Importantly, they don't know how to prioritize.
Yes.
And when you let them help, when you give them that freedom to create the goals, it gives them a purpose that they pull out the school calendar. They tell them how much they practice at this sport and do this. So they know, well, I'm really only going to have Wednesdays and Fridays to actually dig into a good book. So I'm not going to have 30 chapters to read this. It's not an attainable goal. Yeah. So I'm just teaching them to differentiate between small goals and big goals and realizing that both have to happen to get the end result that you're wanting. Yeah. That's a big eye opener for to be successful as a student.
I agree, and I think people talk about, like, I listen to like a lot of like leadership podcasts, and they talk about goals at every level. Like, and you're starting it for fifth grade, right? You're starting at fifth grader. They're setting short-term goals, long-term goals, and they're creating them, they're assessing them, they're reflecting, and then they're building new goals. I think that's incredible, a great habit to get students into, and it's something they can carry into anything. Yeah. So I love transferable skills, and it sounds like all of you, every single one of your kids will be successful because of what you've done. Every single one of them. There's not one kid that's not going to be successful. That's your guarantee, right?
It's a guarantee.
That's a Jenna guarantee. That's awesome. What if you said that to parents when you first started class? Hey guys, here's the Jenna guarantee. I've got a certificate.
I'm going to lay it out. I'm going to lay it out right here.
Every single one of your kids is going to be a state senator.
Just so you know.
I hope you're prepared. Okay, so all right. Sorry, I apologize. Okay. So you wanna go ahead and tell them some of the stuff you do that's really cool with regards to your class. I know we talked about some stuff with like trading cards and then some other programs. So let's start with the trading card system you set up. Did you create that from scratch?
Yeah, I mean, no. The idea, the concept of it kind of came from my childhood. Like some of the things I liked to enjoy doing was just playing video games. Yes. One of my favorite video games was the Final Fantasy series. Yeah. And in Final Fantasy VIII, they have a trading card game. Yeah. And so I tried to model it off of that one. But in this one, it's a little different. Yeah. It's more educational, a lot more educational.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah. That's good.
That's good.
School and stuff.
Yeah, school and stuff.
So they play on a 4x4 grid, and each card has so many numbers on each side. But each card has a picture over the historical figure we're going over, and also goes over information, different abilities. Usually the abilities on the cards I try to match with things they actually did. Like when we get to Mesopotamia, they have like a Mesopotamia card deck they get to choose cards from.
That's
and
cool.
Mesopotamia, they have Hammurabi. And so one of Hammurabi's abilities is like Hammurabi's code, and it kind of mentions his ability of how his code really impacted other cards and how it impacts other Mesopotamia cards. The whole card thing started because last year I found that the biggest issue I had was I had a bunch of kids who knew the material, knew the classwork, but they just weren't turning in the assignments.
Yeah.
And so I'd have some students who were, A, B students, and they were maybe getting like D's or even worse because they just weren't turning in anything.
Yeah.
And they were okay getting that D. And I want them to be better where they're actually wanting to get the, B's or higher at the A. So this year I kind of started over the summer. I decided to make some of the cards, which was a bit of an undertaking.
I'm going to say, it seems time consuming.
It is. It's not done.
Yeah.
I think I've only got, of course, we're just now in the grease unit. I'm still having to work on a few of those cards before I print them because I don't want them to be too, too powerful. I want them to kind of be balanced with the other cards. But starting off, I had my Paleolithic Mesopotamia card deck, which included things like a Megatherium, which is a giant sloth.
Yeah, I got a couple of those.
Yeah.
What would it be without the giant sloth?
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. And we had Otzi the Iceman. And we got to Egypt after that, and more iconic figures they recognize like Ra, Set, then the ones that and King Tut. But King Tut really is only like
he's like 12 years old. He didn't do much, right?
Yeah, he really didn't do that much. He died when he was like 19.
19, my bad. Give or take.
But really, he doesn't do that much. So we kind of go over him, but he's only like a little bit, and then we kind of learn more about like Ramses II, Akhenaten, some of the ones who really kind of shaped and changed the culture a little bit more. Some more popular than others.
Yeah.
And of course, in the information, I found that some of the kids, because last year when it was like Akhenaten, nobody could remember what he did.
Yeah.
It was just kind of the name. But because of the card game, it kind of gives a description over what he did to the Egyptian people and what he, how kind of unpopular he was for changing their whole religious system. Yeah. And so the kids were able to kind of get that answer more.
And super digestible.
Small
Chunks.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
And it's like we live in a world now where if they want the deep dive, they just pull up they're young, but they can pull up their phone and get it. But you're giving them, you're probably teaching all of it, but you're focusing in on those key components that kind of summarize their big impacts on where we are now or that society, that culture.
Yes.
That's really cool.
And especially on the tests, a lot of times I'll try to for the description information, I'll try to put test answers actually in their cards.
Yeah.
And some cards are very rare, out of the roughly 65 kids I have, there's only one of one card sometimes. Yeah. But other times there might be just 4 of that card or a whole bunch, 30, and the kids are like, another unskilled laborer. And so,
you can stand in the way of a sword.
Yeah. But I have other cards too, Happy, which is a Egyptian god.
Yeah.
It kind of helps to all the farmer cards, like Mesopotamia farmer, Egyptian farmer. A lot of the kids were like, I keep getting farmers. They're just not so good. Yeah. But then that one card, Happy, kind of because of the Nile with its irrigation, kind of bringing farmers to make a lot of agriculture, kind of helps their other cards because they get to play with multiple cards in the game.
Yeah.
So that's what I started off doing in the year, and then later on I was kind of finding, okay, I'm getting work turned in more.
Yeah.
But it's not really good quality work that's getting turned in sometimes. I think they're just doing the work just to get the card package. Yeah. And another part of the card package was that they couldn't have detention for that week. As long as they didn't have a detention.
Ooh, that's good. Throw that classroom management in there.
Yeah. Detention that week, and they turned in all their work for the week, they got a card package. But I was getting a lot of assignments, and I was thinking back to last year, and I was like, I'm getting a lot more work turned in, but I feel like the average is a little bit less than what it was. So I was kind of like, maybe my game's not helping in some ways like it was before. So I added a program called Classcraft. It's a thing that you can purchase. I think I did, it was like $100 for a whole year's worth. So I just kind of took that out of my classroom funds.
Sponsored by Classcraft. I'm just kidding. We're not sponsored. I'm just,
we're not. We wish though.
Checks in the mail.
So I did a lot of stuff like that. And they get to, in Classcraft, they get to end up making a character, and they get to choose their different class of character. And each character has health, AP for action points that they get to do things, and some classroom abilities use their AP, like they get to sit wherever they want for the day if they use an ability. One of them is they get to eat in class for that day if they, or their whole team, because they're on teams too. I have them divided up into like 5 or 6 in each team. So their whole team gets to eat for that day if they use that ability. Or some of the abilities that are really hard to get that take more levels involve like a cheat sheet for the test that I give them as the game master in the game. Yeah. And so I get to make it. And I found that it's helped a lot with bringing those grades up now because they get so much experience and more gold based on their assignment grade now rather than just having it turned in. And so I ended up changing the whole card game system to where in the Classcraft game they could accumulate gold for doing things, where now their card packages, instead of it being like a weekly thing where they get the cards, now they have to use so much of their in-game gold to purchase the physical copies of the cards.
That's awesome. So you're using that online program to transfer over into the hand-to-hand game. That's
and so it's really good for the behavioral stuff. And part of the game also, they get to do these boss battles. Yeah. And the boss battles, I get to edit the bosses, and sometimes I'll just put in, like we usually do a study game every day or two before the test. And on these study games, I'll end up asking questions over, like one I did velocity, how they had to convert feet per hour into the SI units for meters per second velocity. So they had to end up converting things for their boss battle. If they got it right, they did damage to the boss, and if they got it wrong, then their character got damaged, and they had to work as a team to try to survive. And then if they beat the boss, they get a bunch of experience points and a bunch of gold, which helps them buy more cards. Helps them
building that class culture.
Yes.
Yep. Building that achievement culture. Like you're achieving, but you're also learning something in it.
Yes.
So it sounds like it's like a mix between like you take like Classroom Dojo, you've got like Khan Academy, and then like World of Warcraft or something like that. Like you're combining those three, and you're putting it towards something that also attains the card game that you'd already built to get those in there. That's cool.
Yes, and one of the features that I'm kind of getting into now, because I had it when I did special education, which was probably 2 years ago, 3 years ago when I did that, but there wasn't as much to it.
Yeah.
But since I just got it this year, I found that they have a whole new quest line, and so I'm able to kind of go in and people can share their quests. So I ended up searching, for like Greece, what they had for Greece quests, and I didn't really find too much, to be quite honest, that I really wanted that was applicable to my class. So now I've kind of started making quest lines for them, and it kind of has a story component to it, and there's different links that they can end up clicking, and I have Google Forms set up.
Oh, that's cool.
And once they do get such a score on a Google Form, they just have to screenshot it, and they paste it into the Classcraft then, and they submit it to me. And from that point on, they can go on to the next quest, and it's kind of self-driven. Like they can take those Google Forms quizzes as much as they want.
Yeah.
They get to use the websites I give them for their information, or our slides that we kind of go over. And then, they have to get like a 7 out of 10 before they can move on to the next part of the test, part of the quest. And then at the very end of the quest, I have a Google form where it's a one chance form this time. Yeah. And they have to use kind of all the information we've talked about before. And if they get it, they get it. If they don't, they miss out on the bigger reward at the end of the quest.
That's cool. So it sounds like with both of the things that you guys are doing in your classes, you're in your own ways, you're able to differentiate your classes based on different student skill sets. Like what you're doing with literacy, you're allowing students to push themselves further based on what they think their goals are and how they're succeeding, and then they're able to like reach further. Some are learning how to edit, some are partnering with people to edit, and then with yours, with the Classcraft, they're able to go forward and push forward if they need to, not being held back by, I guess, their classmates, right? So it's like a lot of what you guys are doing, it tailors to students that are trying to catch up and students that are trying to push ahead, and then that median of students that are kind of on level, I guess you could say.
Absolutely.
That's cool. That's a huge thing that it's very important to me, because I've worked in a school where like one of our big goals was to get students caught up, but also not like put limitations on students that can just run.
Yeah.
And I know with a traditional classroom that can be hard because it's just not doable with 20 to 30 kids. You can't say, okay guys, well, all right, I'm going to teach 20 different lessons based on your pace. But with what you guys have incorporated, these students can go and stop and move kind of at their pace, at their individualized pace. I love that.
And it's it's a little bit, it's more work on our end initially. Especially with keeping track of 65 goals all at once, but that's where technology comes into play, and and making the point to use that as valid instruction time. It's not the busy work, the checking in. That is showing to the students, hey, I'm accountable, so you're accountable. I am checking in with you weekly, so I can help you keep on track with what you said you were going to do. There's some kids that may read 12 books in a quarter, whereas some kids may read 2. But the growth that they both made was substantial,
for them. Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. I love it. Thank you guys so much. That's really cool. And I really appreciate it. We asked earlier, they don't have Instagram and Twitter, so can't check them out. Sorry, that's on you, bro. Create an Instagram or Twitter for them. I'm just kidding. And then tag them in it. I'm just kidding. Don't do that. That's identity theft, okay? You will be arrested. Thank you guys again so much. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to do this, and I wish you nothing but the best. Anything you want to say to anybody out there who's interested in what you're doing, where they can find resources online or anything?
Oh man, I'm terrible at this part. I know.
No, it's okay.
I'm an invent the wheel kind of girl. I'm just like, hey, I got an idea. I'm just gonna go ahead and create that, and that's probably not the route to go.
No, you give them enough instructions to where they know what they can do, and they can set up their own rubrics, and then the students fill in the blank, and then yours, I'm assuming, with the cards, they can pay you a small fee monthly, and you'll send them the cards.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah, that's good. No, I'm just kidding. What was the website again?
Classcraft.com.
.org. .net.
.org.
.tv. .org.
Maybe.
.org/com.
.org.
Okay, you can Google it.
Yeah.
You don't have to know the exact site anymore. Right. Classcraft. And if it looks weird, it's not it. Okay? So thank you. It could be it, depending on what you think's weird. All right, well, thank you guys again so much. Y'all are awesome, and I appreciate you guys for listening. What up? Hey, guys. Tyler here, Tarver Academy. What's up, Tyler Tarver? How you doing? How you living? In the chat. Tell me one piece of advice you have for teachers. What's one thing you've learned as a teacher, or one piece of advice you learned as a student when you had teachers? I would love for you to tell me that in the chat, and let's all learn something from each other as we go. We're about to take a break. Right now, I'm gonna show some videos. I'm gonna let you kind of learn and say you don't have to go take a break. Say you want to sit at your desk. I'm not just gonna sit here in silence. We're not gonna play some Barry Manilow. That's not how Barry Manilow. What can I do? How about this? The greatest song ever made. Donna Lewis. I love you always forever. I love you always forever, near and far, closer together. Y'all remember in the chat? What is the greatest song ever made? And that's actually the answer. Donna Lewis, I Love You Always Forever. Second best song ever made, Backstreet Boys, Everybody, yeah. And third best song is obviously, Chumbawamba's Tub Thumping. I don't know, I'm sorry. Tell me your top #1 favorite song in the chat if you haven't gone to take a break. I'm about to stop talking and I'm going to let you learn something or start a discussion or just hear some thoughts. If you leave for this part, that's okay. But if you stay, you're hopefully gonna get some value out of it. And then we'll jump right back in to the PD. Here we go. Hey, what's up? Tyler here. I don't know what that noise was. Do you know how to give feedback automatically based on if a student gets something right or wrong in a Google form? If not, I'm gonna show you that. So here, we've got a question that we have. We got the correct answer and the wrong answers. Man, imagine if they missed that. So you're gonna click on answer key. Make sure you turn it into a quiz first. That's up here in the settings. Then you want to click on add answer feedback. Now, what you're going to be able to do is you're going to be able to choose what feedback they get based on if they get it wrong or correct. You can do text feedback, you can do a link, or you can insert a YouTube video. Wow. So one thing I would recommend is if you have them do like a math problem or anything, you can make a video or you can find a video on YouTube explaining how to do it correctly and then have it automatically send it to them and then build up the routine in your class where students take notes based on the videos for everyone they got wrong. It forces them to go back and review the feedback of what they got wrong. Just an idea. So I can take that video. Oh, look at that disgusting hair I have. Toss in the YouTube URL. Bam, toss it in there. Let's toss in another video if they get it right. Yo, what's up, you amazing educator? I got a tip for you in Google Sheets that you might like and make things concise. So let's say you have a Google Sheet like this Ultimate Tarver resource directory that has links to 300 plus resources. I'll tell you in a second how to get that for free. Okay, so let's say you're in here and you scroll over and you've got all these extra cells. And you're like, we don't need those extra cells. What is this, Dragon Ball Z? If that didn't make sense to you, I'm sorry. Okay, so what you can do is you can actually get rid of these cells, these entire columns. So click over there and then let go. Then you scroll to the right, click on the letter of the alphabet up here, and you're gonna hold the shift, and then you're gonna click. When you do that, what it does is it selects all of those from there, and then the shift selects everything in between. Now you can right click on any of these, go to delete columns. Bam! Look at that. Tightens it up to just what you need, just the nitty gritty. If you want access to this entire ultimate resource directory, links to everything plus PD stuff, if you want PDs, you want presentations, all of it, sign up for my email list. It's the first link in my bio. Yo, do you like Google Forms and do you want to make them look prettier? You should. So first off, say you downloaded this Google Classroom Discipline form that I have linked in my bio, whatever. And you're like, okay, this is great, but I'm not Tarver Academy. I don't care about your dumb little, there's your title page. I don't need that for my class. Well, what you can do is go to this little Bob Ross looking paintbrush, wooden paint holder, I don't know what it's called, and click on image upload. If you hit X there, boom, it deletes it. And you're like, oh, and upload my own. Boom, choose the image. Boom, put it in there. You can even pick from this custom gallery, or you can upload your own. If you're gonna make your own, I recommend using Canva. Link in my bio. It's the best at graphics. You could also just change the color scheme, make it green, make it blue, make it red, and choose the background color. Oh, wow, so clean. That's American looking. If you want to get fancy, you can even change your font style. Click over here. Oh my goodness, that would make my brain explode. I hope this helped and have a great day. Oh, excuse me, you wanted to learn an iPad iPhone trick? I got you, fam. Oh, that's not good. So I'm going to show you how to record your screen and your voice on iPhone or iPad. Sorry, Android users, I'm sure there's a way to do it for you. So what you want to do is you want to swipe down from the upper right-hand corner. That brings up your control center. That little circle with the dot, that's your record. You hit that, it starts counting down. We don't want to do that yet, so I'm going to stop it. What you want to do is you want to hit that button and you want to hold it, press and hold it. This allows you to turn your mic on and off. Default is it's off. So you want to make sure it's on, hit that, it's recording, you're good to go. To stop that, I hit the red button at the top right corner. Bam, it's going to ask you, you sure? I'm going to say, always sure. Bam. And that'll save that in your photo app.
If you like what you saw, usually the follow button. If you didn't like what you saw, well, you just keep on swiping, find something you like. Okay, guys, what's this voice? I don't know. Why's my hair look like that? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Blah.
Hey, I know the first thing you're thinking that purple with that blue? That's fire. Well, my kids would say you'd be wrong, but they're wrong, you know? Enough about my wardrobe. Let's get to a Google tip. So what I want to do is I want to paste a table from Google Sheets. But the problem is I don't want all these boxes and all this stuff. I want to just paste the text. So instead of just hitting paste, I can go up to edit and then paste without formatting. What that's going to do is that's going to strip away, well, it takes away all the formatting, so it pastes it just like default text into my document. Now I can just like copy all of it and adjust it how I want. It's a quick way to take things out of somewhere else and drop them into a Google Doc. A Google Doc, paste it out, format. Now you learn something today. Why am I talking like this? I'm so sorry. It's crazy. It's the hat and the purple. It's just doing it to me. All right, guys, we're on to the last portion. I want to kind of mix it up even more because, you know, innovation in education. So we got to innovate with regards to what we're doing. This is actually from, I hosted a Tarver Academy. We called it Blast Education because we're going to have a blast. Whatever. It was fine. It's whatever. This is way better. Am I right, guys? I'm just kidding. Actually, it was a lot of fun. I hosted a 3-day conference at a school, and we had a bunch of other educators come in, and it was a whole lot of fun. And one of the sessions that we did was a Q&A with a couple of innovative educators. And so we talked earlier with my friend Joshua Harrison. He's going to join us for this. And then Chip Greenwell. He, he's been an administrator for a while. He's done some really cool stuff, really innovative things inside and outside the classroom. And, you know, he was one of the people that we went and talked to before we implemented FlexMod into our district. He is one of the, one of the people that are on the forefront, the pioneers of trying things in education. And this is a Q&A we did at the conference. And I just thought it'd be cool to kind of end with this where we're just kind of sitting down, listen to people, ask some questions, and then just kind of see some answers from a few of us, a few guys who have tried some things in education, you know, had some successes, had some failures, but hopefully you can learn something from both of those. So here we go. Chip, Joshua, and myself. We're going to end it on this. Hope you guys get something out of it. Hope you have a great day. I hope you've learned and maybe sparked some ideas for ways you can be innovative and creative in your classroom. And I'd love to hear them if you want to hit me up at Tyler Tarver on Instagram. I'd love to see in the story. Throw it on there. Tell me some of the things you're going to do in your classroom, something you might take from this and then develop into something of your own. I'd love to hear it. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. And here's the last session, a little Q&A with Chip, Joshua, and Tyler. Here we go. Yeah, whenever I first started at Bauxite, we were just now rolling out the devices. It was like, You can use Edmodo, or you can use, I think, what was it? Something else we were using. Then Classroom just came out. You know, they pushed it out early because it was like, we'll release in October, and teachers were like, you'll release now. And so they rolled out early. So I told my teachers like the week before, I was like, look, you can use either of these. I recommend using Google because it's basic now, but they make everything better.
We tried to use iTunes U for a while too.
Yeah, we did iTunes U, and it was great, except for like Apple quit caring about it. Now, I don't know if you guys have used it. They've made some huge like pushes forward in iTunes U, and I haven't used them, but I know Jordan, who's going to Lakeside for Fountain Lake, she's going to be their tech facilitator. They've integrated like a classroom in there. You can grade. You can like do like forums. Like they've actually like invested in iTunes U because they realized like they were the best with iPads. Like everybody get an iPad. Well, then Google started like really kicking it in schools, and Apple just fell behind as far as like their software. Their hardware is still dope, but they too super fell behind in that. So awesome. Let's keep talking.
I use Classroom here because the business teacher, I was also an East facilitator and I did English, and so he gave the CT and me the option to do the Classroom, and I used it, and it was fine, you know, and it was fine, and I get all, but I thought we're going one-to-one and flex mod, and we've got to force them to use an online learning management system, and even though that's not really pushed as a learning I was like, oh, we're going Schoology.
Yeah. And then
Schoology, can we do Schoology? And they were like, okay. It's really easy to herd.
Yes.
I found they're really easy to herd, and for the most part, I think most of them are using it on some level.
That's all.
But they come to me and they'll ask me, hey, Lisa, how do I do this? And I'm like, try this, try that.
Yeah, that's the one thing we noticed whenever we did all those was training was key. Like you have to get them. What are some things you guys saw with your schools and whenever you did one-to-one stuff and getting the teachers comfortable? Because a lot of teachers are very apprehensive. You know what I mean? Like they want to go with what they feel comfortable with. What do you guys feel was advantageous or didn't work, and how you could have made it better when you rolled out some stuff?
I think one of the things we did when the kids got Chromebooks before the teachers did, and we kind of talked about that a minute ago. The kids were getting Chromebooks. The teachers didn't have them. They had their desktops. We started giving a few of them Apple devices. Some of them had iPads. So the teachers weren't real comfortable with them. So it became, well, the students had Chromebooks, and so it kind of became a digital notebook, so to speak. It was kind of a real fancy trapper keeper. And that's one of the things we kind of kept saying, we need to do something different. We need to train our teachers to be able to utilize this. That's something I was reading the other day. It said that those kids just using it to do projects versus designing projects using their devices. So that's the direction that we want to start going. So we want to let the teachers be able to say, there's like the world out there at their fingertips. Let's let them start designing some of the learning, because that's when they will actually start growing. The students will start growing. How about you guys?
Similar situation. Just the idea that it's kind of a mindset shift that there's always going to be something new. So as adults, as teachers, we are going to be, let's get you proficient. Let's get you excited about this. But ultimately, there's always going to be a new app or a new website or a new device. And so having the mindset of, okay, I am kind of moving again from that sage on the stage, I'm the only one who can teach, to, okay, now I'm okay if you show me how this app works. I'm okay if you bring in this neat device you brought and maybe we play around with it a little bit. And being a little less risk averse with that. And pairing that mindset shift with ongoing training. Just like what we would, if we're going to spend so much time instructing kids and teaching teachers best practices, why would we not integrate technology into that if we expect it?
Yeah. And all that does, that improves the teaching, but doesn't always improve the learning, so to speak. I mean, the teaching may look better, structure may look better, but it doesn't always improve the amount of stuff that the kids learn based on what devices they have.
Awesome. Yeah. That's one of the things that I always struggled with, was addressing that to the teachers and being like, don't be the kid that you get mad at for not wanting to learn whenever you walk into a PD and you don't want to learn how to, like you said, change that mindset. What are some ways you've found to get teachers on board with that mindset? Because once they're on board, then you can start doing all that stuff you guys said. Was there anything you guys used to trigger that? And some teachers that are a little more,
I don't want to say stagnant, but stagnant.
Sure. Josh?
I think just giving them the opportunity to try some different things. The one thing that I've worked with, we're a little more flexible at my campus at Minor Academy. So we try some different things. It's allowing them to try things and not being upset if it doesn't work. And I think teachers most of the time they want to go in and they want it to be perfect. And if it doesn't work, then they're upset. To me, it's okay. It's like you learn more by failure than you learn by success. And so that's one of the things I've told them. Hey, if we want to try blending this course, if we want to try to use some sort of project-based learning, if we want to try something different, let's do it. Try it. If it doesn't work, we'll throw it out. We'll start over. And I think that us as administrators being flexible with our faculty to allow them to try some different things, maybe take some of that fear away, where they keep thinking, well, if I don't know how to do this perfectly, if I try it, I mess up, I'm going to get in trouble. If our test scores aren't great, I'm going to get in trouble. Honestly, those are just numbers when it comes down to it. Really, what are those kids getting out of it? So I think we have to be flexible with our teachers.
Yeah, and I think too, it's setting the vision, and it's a shared vision. So it's, what do you think our kids need? Here's the data. Here's the world they're about to enter into. How are we aligning ourselves to that world? And then how are we moving forward in a direction that everyone's voice is heard, but then ultimately saying, okay, here, and having a big balance, but balancing, here are my expectations. As a school, here are our norms. This is what we all agree with. This is what we all believe in. This is how we're going to act. And then also providing just a ton of ongoing support. But, when there is that stagnation, recognizing that it's a lot easier to bring someone on board if they have a seat at the table.
Yeah.
And I think, and then also patience. I think what we're doing right now is not easy. It's complicated. There's a lot of barriers. And to know that it's going to take folks a little time. And as long as they are trying hard and they're caring every day, they're going to get there.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome. So whenever you guys rolled out devices, first off, what does your device makeup look like with your students as far as 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 or whatever you guys have? What does it look like?
So in the school district I'm at right now in Huntsville, we're essentially 1-to-1 with Chromebooks.
Okay, awesome.
We have some fun stuff too. We have some laptops, a couple of Apples, some iPads, things like that. But we're by and large mostly just Chromebooks.
Okay. Yeah, and the same way at Blockside, we're all Chromebooks from K-12. Certain grades get to take them home. Other grades, they have them in the classroom. So we do have iPads and some other things. At Minor Academy, we have a little bit more flexibility on our devices, so there's other things they can try. So we've gotten this year finally where we've gotten everybody a device in their hand that they're taking home.
Awesome. Cool. What are some common pitfalls or best practices whenever you roll those out to students that you've seen, as far as just anything from practical to just troubleshooting, just things they hit? What are some stuff you guys have seen and ways to get around them?
So Huntsville's the third school district I've worked in that's been 1-to-1. Something that we discovered early on was, for many of our students of lower socioeconomic status, this was a very new thing for them. And so we wanted to make sure that we trained them on how do you properly use a device when you're 11, 12 years old. How do you turn it on? Do you slam it down? Do you slam the cover? No, you don't. Don't do that. But then we also, just from a fiscal sense, we also wanted to make sure we had a fallback for our investment. So we looked at some insurance, just from a practical standpoint. Looked at a bunch of different insurance options. What we discovered for our specific situation was it was easiest just to self-insure. And so what we do is just charge a $25 annual insurance premium that covers pretty much the entire device. You can get really deep into the weeds, but essentially there's a technology handbook that we all agree that we're going to follow. There's a $25 insurance fee that helps parents feel a lot more secure, that they don't, if on the bus the Chromebook breaks or the iPad breaks, that they're not going to be on the hook for a couple $100. And then what we also do, just from another practical sense, is we take some of our real techie people, because we only had one person working in technology, and we said, okay, we're going to train 3 or 4 kids on just basic repairs. So we're going to buy 50 new screens, Chromebook screens, and we're going to teach kids how to take those screens off and pop them back on. We're going to buy a bunch of new space bars because space bars always seem to pop off. Okay, kids, you can actually do this. And so not only are we giving the kids the skills they need, we're also saving the parents money. And then it also is kind of an incentive for the students to say, oh, if I mess this up, my buddy's going to have to fix it. And so it's been a good combination of incentives.
That's what we started. We pulled that out this year with the little tech team that we're actually going to offer a class next year.
Cool.
And we've got several kids, some older kids, and then some middle school kids. So we've got middle school through high school that are working as their tech team. I'm not sure what they decided to name them. They've kind of thrown these around.
I think they went back to tech team.
Yeah.
They were just afraid to jump out there. Everybody can make fun of the weird names.
Yeah. So
this went to tech team.
But it's good. It's a lot of those kids are not only they're finding ways that they could eventually a direction they may want to go in their career. So it's been a good way to be able to get kids out there too. But I think one of the biggest things when I was assistant principal at the high school and we started bringing out, I think the first year we got Chromebooks for our freshmen, we had a lot of parents that were reluctant. Because I don't think we really talked to the parents. We explained it well enough to the parents what they were going to get, what it was going to be used for, how it was going to be used. And so a lot of the parents said, oh, I don't want these coming home. 1, because I'm afraid it's going to get broken. 2, I'm afraid what they're going to be looking at. 3, I don't have a device. I don't have Wi-Fi at home. I don't have. We don't have anything for them to get actually on the internet with. So they were kind of, a lot of parents were reluctant. So we had a lot of Chromebooks every afternoon coming back, or they just said, I refuse for them to use it. No, they need to use it while they're at school. Because that's how that first year, that's how freshmen are getting a lot of their content. So I really, not only training our kids, but I think we could have done a better job as a district, probably preparing our parents for being 1-to-1 per class. I think that would have helped.
That's awesome. If you guys have anything you want to ask questions and roll off, just go for it, okay?
Or add.
Add to it. Yeah, if you guys know, throw it out. Open. Yeah,
sure.
You guys don't offer hotspots to your kids or anything like that?
At a very limited capacity because of the monthly fee. Some of our homebound students, we will have a handful of them. Some of just really specific and unique situations, we will.
Yeah.
We are just starting this year offering a Wi-Fi on 2 of our long route buses and our travel bus.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And we're in the same boat. We have a few situations that we have to take into consideration with homebound students or whatever, so we don't offer them now. We do have seat waiver time at our charter school, and that's one of the things we're looking at. If we end up extending that seat waiver more, that's something we would provide for our kids that are homebound. So make sure that they have something that is reliable. Because around this area, it's not always reliable, especially when you get out in the rural parts to kind of where a lot of our kids live.
Yeah, I know one of the things that I had to keep preaching to them whenever, because some kids, it's not that they can't afford it. That area does not, they don't offer it. Nobody will do it there, put internet down there. So what I would always tell them is you have Wi-Fi here, plan, it's not going to magically appear at Wi-Fi at your house. You don't have it. So plan it here. Anything you have to do or submit online, do that while you're at school. Download anything you need to. Do docs offline, screenshot stuff, and then you can write at home, and then when you hit the internet, it'll upload. So you just got to plan ahead. And that's one of the things
for our kids.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
We offer hotspots.
Oh, that's
like
awesome.
40 of them that they check out.
Wow.
The teacher has to sign off that they have a project that they
You can get those really cheap with Donors Wish.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I think ours are very
Donors
cheap.
Wish, I think, that may not be the name of it, but you can get like for $10, you can get so many hotspots that'll,
wow.
Cool.
I keep saying I'm gonna do, you pay up front, so it'd be like $120 for the year
Okay.
for that one, and it connects, you get, anyway.
Issues that we
I
ran
can't
into
remember, I'll have to find
was
it and tweet it, but.
We have to check it out.
Great.
It was really cool, I just haven't ever, because I'm like, would I ever get it back?
That's fair.
they signed a contract.
It would be the donor's
Yeah.
wish.
The donors wish
The
that
donors
they
wish
come
that
back.
they'd come back.
Yeah.
What are you saying?
One of the problems we had was when students get home, everybody in the house uses it,
Mhm.
using
Oh.
that data. And we used to have unlimited data, but they've switched that over to their capping it now.
Yeah.
And so they're gonna make it to where only that school device can connect to it. So that should
Okay.
help this year.
When you see kids check those out, do you see them checking them out long term, or do they just do them for projects and then bring them back, or are they like check them out and then
Supposed to
8
check
months
them
later?
out. I think they had come up to 2
Oh, wow, okay, so it's short term. Okay.
And then if you check them on Friday, you get the weekend.
Yeah,
But they try to get them before holidays and all that, so they're not
okay.
out.
Awesome. So with you guys, whenever you essentially, when you give kids time on like a device, teachers up there, they can't see through screens. It's because the internet's a big place. It's easy for kids to get distracted. So what do you guys do as far as either classroom management or enforcement or like training the kids to realize like, hey, if I'm watching this Netflix show with no sound, instead of learning, then I have to make this up. Like, what do you guys do? What do you got to kind of preach to your teachers and your students?
I think at least on our campus, where we are a little bit more flexible, I think just we're trying to teach them responsibility. Cell phones are something that are still in a lot of schools that they don't allow. We've opened that up. Of course, we talk about responsibility and what you need to do to get done. We have quotas because we're doing all of our stuff is online, so we have quotas that we do percentage checks every couple of weeks. So we kind of give them that idea, that business model idea. You know, if you're doing a job for a client and your cell phone's in the way, you need to put it up for a little bit. So same thing with devices. Walk around and a kid's watching Netflix. I'm not going to yell at them and degrade them, you know, but at the same time I may just walk over and go, hey, show me your percentage. We'll see, oh, you know, you're 10% ahead of where you should be. You know what? Hey, if you're taking 10 minutes to watch something, you know, we've kind of backed off that because if I'm doing something, I'm doing a job that I've worked on for an hour and I want to take a 10-minute break or 15-minute break, you know, and I'm staying where I need to be, then that's okay. I just want them to be responsible with that. So same thing, we see a kid that's taking advantage and not doing a good job with their time management, then it may be something, hey, put that cell phone on my desk. Just go put it at my desk in my office till you finish, to get caught up. Or you need to get off Netflix. We need to get going. So we've tried to. I'm more in the mindset of, you know, I'm trying to teach these kids more than just how to get an answer in a math problem or history. We're trying to teach them some responsibility.
Are you using any type of monitoring system?
Well, I have an ALE in my building, and my ALE teacher can see all their screens, even if a kid goes and gets one of if a laptop happens to show up in a different classroom, he's like, so-and-so's on the laptop. I'm like, all right, I'll go get it. But so we have that in place for our ALE kids, so we can make sure they're staying. Those are the kids that I've got to make sure that they're staying on task. Our tech guy, Chris, is really good about finding whenever certain sites get, you know, that we need, that, or if we have Netflix, or he'll call me and say, hey, there's 80 cell phones on your network right now, and he just starts wiping them off, you know. And we try to explain to kids, look, if you want to get on your cell phone, use your own data, but it's easier said than done. So yeah, Chris is great about kind of giving us heads up, and we try to talk to him about it, but I mean, it's constant monitoring.
Yeah, some similar situation. We use a program, a third-party program. I don't remember the specific name, but it's paired with the state system. No.
We're going to try
Guardian?
Go Guardian.
We got Go Guardian.
Yeah.
I'm telling you what.
Go Guardian.
But I'm not quick enough to get back there, and you're like, they're doing this, you know, and then and you're like, what are you doing? Oh, nothing. I'm like, and you can't get back there. You know?
Right. Well, and I think too, in terms of practicality, Go Guardian has been great. It's really easy to whitelist sites that teachers need, blacklist sites that constantly are popping up. You know, in terms of screen sharing, we only have that with our library computers. So essentially 99% of our computers are not monitored constantly. It's first and foremost, you have to have that Go Guardian system or some other system. But again, I go back to mindset. You know, Josh and I were talking before this. It's such a shift when you go to one-on-one environments to say the kids who are actually kind of playing around, in theory, should be the ones with the highest grades. Now, obviously that doesn't always happen, but how is that any different in my mind than the kid in the back of the room who doesn't want to learn and is doodling the whole time, or just staring off into space, or texting with his girlfriend? It's just another way of kind of zoning out. And so it's just engaging again. And to also recognize that there's going to be times that we're not going to catch everything, and a kid might miss something, and you know, they're going to have to get caught up on that, just like they would if they were doing something without a device. From a practical standpoint, in Huntsville, what we do is, at least at the middle school, in the hallways, we allow cell phones. I only ask if students are listening to music, they put in headphones. We don't like the Bluetooth speakers that much just because they can get really loud really quick, but that's kind of a one-on-one basis. In the classroom, it's cell phones are just teacher discretion. Some teachers are good with you taking it out and researching while your Chromebook's doing something else. Some teachers don't like that at all. It's their choice.
That's good.
Yeah.
What would you guys have done, either done different or changed, if you know what you knew now when you rolled those out to students? Like, what are some things you would have done differently?
Me personally, I would have liked to spend a little more time front loading the actual hardware piece. Chromebooks are cheap. They're decently dependable, but they do break fairly easily. Like you have to make sure your headphone is not in that screen when you close it, or it's going to crack.
That'll breach.
And yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And it seems, and I know all that seems basic to the adults in the room, but for a lot of these kids, they've never really had this responsibility and this opportunity before. So I think that's a huge way to save some money and really do some good training. I also think so you front load the hardware, you front load the software, but I think from a kid's point of view, you really need to front load kind of the emotional, social, this is how we act on the internet. And so often I think everyone agrees that that's important, but at the end of the day, it always seems to kind of fall by the wayside, or hey, everything you put online never disappears. Well, a kid doesn't care about that most of the time. They just want to go on Instagram or Snapchat with their friends. What they don't realize is what some of those consequences could be. So I think really explicitly teaching that up front and saying, if you bully someone on Facebook, it's going to be the same consequence in the office as if you said it to their face, or if you wrote a note. And so those are just things that, we're still working on. We're still trying to improve.
I know when we first rolled out with those freshmen, of course, you're starting with freshmen who are the ones that are least responsible. And I think simple stuff, like you're talking about how to shut it down, how to close it out, charging. I mean, we would have so many kids come and my Chromebook's dead. Now they can't do what they were asked to do because their Chromebook's dead. We didn't have multiple chargers. We gave them each a charger, take home. A lot of times, and then we had an issue with the Chromebooks that we ordered. A lot of the charger ports were breaking, and so we've got a lot of them that weren't able to charge. So then we had kids without devices because they were backed up. So I think just certain little things that we could have talked about of how to better take care of those, throwing them in your backpack and slinging it across at lunch, before you run to lunch. I mean, those things. So and a lot of the software, we've been really good about having those mirrored. So the software that they're needed is on their devices. The district does that beforehand, and we take them up at the end of the year. But I think just at the beginning, just some of the basic things I think would have been really good. And I think explaining some of these things to the parents too would have been great. I think that would have been, we could have probably had a smoother transition into it.
Communication.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say I got a school, boom, it's a brand new school. We're going to go one-to-one in the school. Money doesn't matter. We got a grant from whoever has money that wants to give money to our grant. And you can legit do anything you want. Devices, trainings, whatever you want. What would be your ideal setup for a school starting that? And then like where would you put your emphasis and your money and everything?
It's a deep question right there.
Starting your own school, it's a big deal. We got a voucher. We got vouchers.
I know for me, I would like ideally to have industry devices. So just looking at the local bit, what I would like to do is, depending on, in this hypothetical amazing school, where are we, what are the major industries, and then go talk to those industries and say, okay, what are you using in your office? Are you using Macs? Are you using Windows devices? Are you primarily only using the internet? So trying to mirror exactly what the industry is wanting. And then also then saying, okay, what's the software we're going to need beyond just the basic suite, Microsoft Suite or Google Suite or whatever you want to call it. Are there any specific programs that you would need? And then what I'd love to do is really do what Josh was saying of what are some other maybe peripheral devices, maybe plotters, 3D printers, virtual reality is becoming a thing, things that are going to excite kids' curiosity and creativity, and the teachers can use in learning projects or learning activities. Like, okay, maybe you want to write a story, but maybe you want to instead design something on the plotter or the 3D printer to encapsulate what you're trying to show. So I don't know if that's too basic, but
no, that's good.
That's probably
it's your school. You do say what
that's
you want.
true. Yeah.
And I think if I started one from scratch, I wouldn't have devices that were geared to each student. I think it would be, but we'd have multiple devices, kind of like what Chip's saying. I think multiple devices, different style devices that kids could go based on what they're working on or based on what their needs are that they could utilize. Because I believe, and that's one of the things that we've really tried to go towards in our alternative environment that I have down there is different outcomes. My degree's in art. When it came down to it, if it's write 1,000-word paper or create, build, design, make a video, do something like that, I would be so for that over the other because that's how my brain worked. And I think too often that we sit them down and we say, this is your one and only outcome. Now, they have to learn to write, understand that, but I also believe that we have to give them other options and opportunities to grow and learn. I think them creating their own projects, creating their own learning outcomes is huge. They're going to learn so much more than they're going to have to find the information. So to me, having devices at their fingertips that they could go say, okay, well, for this project, I'm going to need a MacBook Air. This project, I need a 3D printer because we're going to create something, or a plotter, or whatever device it would be. I think not just what we're thinking of as traditional laptops or iPads or notebooks or whatever. I think it'd be important to have those things available for them if we had that voucher. Think about that voucher.
It's in the bill.
It's in the bill. So that would be my ideal situation for them, is to allow the students to kind of use what they would best need to be successful. Awesome. And then, like you said, I think it's huge, the software. I think the software piece is huge too, because if they're going to go out and they're going to get into certain, if they're going to be an accountant, then yes, they're probably going to need to get more into Office Suite, versus Google Sheets. It's not there yet. So I know that there's got to be opportunities for them to try multiple different things software-wise. And then there's so many great apps out there that they can actually start designing the learning themselves, utilizing a lot of the apps that are there. So.
I like that where you talked about using all the different devices, touching all these different things. And that's one thing we've looked at with our school. It's like, okay, we don't want kids to just be comfortable on a PC or just be comfortable on a Chromebook or just be comfortable on a Mac. We want them to touch everything. So when they get out of high school and they go do their job, they don't have to learn the device. They can do their job. Most employers don't want to sit there and spend 2 weeks trying to get you comfortable on their computer. They want you to sit down and start doing the job you're hired for. And so we want kids to be able to work with anything and figure it out, troubleshoot, feel comfortable to where they don't just like hit a barrier and go, oh no, I don't know how to do this. How do I scroll on this computer? And so they quit. So.
Well, I think if you're in a medical professions class, you're an introduction to medical professions, Chromebook may not be as important as maybe a heart monitor to learn how to utilize it. So there's other devices than what we think of as just traditional devices that they can actually go put their hands on, learn how to use, and get the data they need from that to maybe answer the questions that are there for them. So I think just we got to think out of the box when we're thinking of devices versus just what we think of what's in the box that Tyler's trying to give away, which would be nice. But you know what I mean? I think we have to think outside the box when it comes to devices nowadays.
But I think you both bring up local industry. Talking to local businesses, you're going to find that most businesses are going to on average spend probably $5,000 to $10,000 training a new employee. So an opportunity, a very practical opportunity could be, hey, we're going to save you all that money per employee. All we need is help us out with the devices,
right?
And then you can hire some of our folks right away, cut down your costs, and it's a true win-win. It's a true partnership.
That's awesome. What are some key? I was going to the last question. If you guys got something. What is, we've talked about a lot of different things. Is there anything else, any other advice or just either words of wisdom or caution or anything else you'd like to throw out that we haven't had the chance to talk about throughout this? I know we've covered several things in this conversation. No pressure though if you don't have anything.
A couple things, a couple items. Number one, I think just from a practical standpoint, when you go one-to-one environment, you really you need to think both short-term and long-term. Short-term, really providing a upfront training to teachers, parents, kids, whether it's hardware, software, bullying, online activities, online actions, and continue to communicate. Do it so much that you are tired of communicating almost the same message over and over. Having a little skin in the game with an insurance policy is very practical advice. It's been really successful in the 3 districts I've been at. And then also, one area that I think often gets overlooked because we get so excited. It's like, ooh, a new initiative, a new toy, a new device. What are we going to do when, okay, let's say you're in a school with 400 kids, 100 kids, 100 kids in each grade. But what are you going to do when those 100 seniors graduate? What happens to those devices? Where do they go? And then what are we going to do in 4 years when all 400, or 5 years when all 400 are about to go out? Do we have a sustainability plan? What does that look like financially? What does that look like practically implementing? And making sure that there's some commitment piece there so it doesn't just become a fad. Because we all know that technology it's no longer something else you can put on a resume as a skill. It's the way we operate. So that'd be my 2 cents.
Good. That was good.
And just those mindset shifts. Just trying new things, experimenting.
I like it.
Yeah, I think this is very similar. I keep reaching on just allowing that flexibility. I think utilizing that more than just a digital trapper keeper. And that's what we see so often, that using it as a tool that it is to allow us to figure out different ways to answer the question that's been asked in education, whatever subjects you're in for however many years. Because the same questions have been asked and they continue to be asked. There's a few new ones that come in, but for the most part, we're asking the same questions over and over again, finding new ways to find that answer and allowing the students to create their own learning outcomes based on their device, whatever device it is that they have, for them to be able to do that research. I think we just have to have that flexibility and that acceptance to do that. And that's what I hope that our staff understands that they have the opportunity to do. So,
great. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you guys so much. That was great. Wealth of knowledge. Is that the phrase? Wealth of knowledge? It's a bunch of knowledge you guys threw out there, and I like it. Thank you guys so much.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
We did it. We did it. We learned something. Did you learn something today? In the chat, I want you to put the thing that you are taking away from today. Put one thing in the chat right now that you have learned or that you have realized or that's reinforced something you think. Put that one that I like to call this the golden nugget. Put the golden nugget from today in the chat. And that way, if somebody's missed it or they checked in, go ahead and you guys can copy paste what other people put. If there's some advice, you can screenshot it. Get this. I want you to throw in the best thing you learned today. It's like a best of highlight reel for your favorite thing that happened during this training. Toss that in the chat right now so we can share and grow together. Okay, we're about to do the evaluation. Before we do, I want to remind you, if you want access to this entire training at any time throughout the year, not just these live broadcasts, you can join the Tarver Academy Honor Roll. Why'd I do this? Hey guys, Tarver Academy Honor Roll. It's like Netflix for teachers. Netflix for teachers, because you have resources, you have templates, you have PDs, trainings. It's literally like a library of trainings, and then access to ask questions, to request resources that I build and send out to teachers all around the world. So tarveracademy.com/honor roll if you want to join the greatest community on the planet. And I'm not biased at all. I mean, all of us, you're on the honor roll. You want to be on the honor roll? Sick. Let's all be on the honor roll. And I'm a dean, so keep me on the dean's list. Hey, that works. Okay. All right. Now it's time for your evaluation. I'd love to get your thoughts on what you thought for this, but also I'm going to send you a certificate saying that you sat through this training. You put in the time. You wanted to learn. You wanted to grow. You wanted to get better. This is going to be a certificate that I'm going to email to you. What I need you to do is I need you to go to the link on the screen, or hover over the QR code with your phone. Get your phone out, hover over it. It's gonna ask you a few questions. If you don't get this, it means that you put your email address in wrong. Make sure, please do not rush this. Type your email address in correctly. Please, I'm begging you, because if not, you're gonna email me, I never got my certificate. It's because your email address is wrong. Type in your email address correctly, fill it out, fill out your name, make sure you capitalize, make it look good, because it's gonna fill into the certificate from this. So I need you to put this in correctly, please. Okay, go there, we're gonna walk you through it. Go into this, click on the link, or is it, you can't click on the link because it's on a video. Type in the link on your computer or type it in on your phone or whatever device you have. Scan the QR code, fill it out. I'm gonna send you a certificate with a timestamp on it saying what time you ended. You have proof from earlier if you sent in to the other link of what time you started. And then you also got your notes and all the stuff you've learned, your screenshots, all of that to show your administrator or whoever, your spouse, you show your friends, show people on the streets, all the learning that you did. You can frame that certificate. I think we're all getting framed. You get a frame, I'm getting framed. I'm gonna put it up on my shelf. I got too much stuff on my shelf already. So look at this, Lonzo Ball rookie card. If you got any, by the way, you got any basketball cards you wanna sell, hit me up. I've been slightly obsessed with basketball cards, and I apologize for bringing it up. Look at this, this is all Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball, he's the GOAT. Everybody says it. Who's in the chat? Who is your favorite basketball player of all time? I'd love to know. If it was Lonzo Ball, it's quite the coincidence because I had it sitting on my desk. If not, it's probably this guy. Probably this guy right here. See that guy? That's Michael Jordan. No big deal. It's whatever. Don't like to brag about it. It's not that expensive, that card. But if you got any cards you want to sell, holler at me. I don't know why I said that. I'm just stalling so you guys can fill out your evaluation. All right. Y'all feel good? I'm gonna leave this on the screen for you for a little while in case you had to step out for a second. I'm gonna leave this up. Thank you again so much for your attention and your time and everything that you put into learning and growing with us today. I'm Tyler, this is Tarver Academy. Let's learn and have fun. See you guys later.